Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. I'm your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. When we do open up the phone lines later, you'll be able to join the conversation by calling 562-542-3261 or 562-LibDan1. Or you can join us in the chat rooms either at liberaldanradio.com, which is the YouTube channel, or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio. Either way, I will participate in and comment on chats as I see them when I get to them. You can support the show by remembering to share, repost things that I put on social media, like Cosmic Rose just said she did over on Twitch. You can like, comment, interact with other people on existing videos, smash all sorts of, emojis or whatever during the show, during the live streams, buy bits, buy super chats, gift memberships and sponsorships, buy them for yourselves. If you have Amazon Prime, you could buy your own subscription over on Twitch for free. You have to just repeat it each and every month. You can Venmo Liberal Dan, at Liberal Dan and Venmo. Just scan the QR code there. You can buy me a coffee or cider. Go to liberaldan.com and click the Buy Me Cider button, or just go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. Either way will get you there, and you can do a one-time contribution. You can also be a patron, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way gets you there as well, and support the show on a month-to-month basis. Impeccable Living, remember to join us today. Good to see you, Impeccable Living. Thank you for stopping by.
Oh, my.
So there's that. We also got Steve from across the pond.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
And maybe if you interact with the show much, a lot, maybe I'll think of a good favorites to play for y'all as well. We'll see. So let's see. We got Alton Gillespie. Kim, the goddess Kimchi is in the chat. Good to see you, Kimchi. We got Fancy. We got Aaron. Let's see. Josh. Pump Kiono all the way from down under. Sorry if I have a bad Australian accent. We got Botrix, as needed for, I guess, the chat thing that I hardly ever put up. Actually, I haven't put it up yet since I've installed the new OBS on my new laptop. So there you go. It just happens.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. CR, Josh, anybody else I missed? Sorry, I'm sure I get to you around there. You like wood. Progressively Independent, good to see you as well. Hey, Jolie, good to see you too. Suzanne, thank you all for joining. Remember to smash that like button, share the stream, etc. Again, retweeting. I'm trying to grow my Blue Sky stuff. I have to remember to do it, and I'm trying to interact with as many people as possible, follow back as many people as possible, and of course post show introductions or show advertisements or whatever over there whenever I can as well. It's been a very I woke up, it didn't feel great. I basically called in sick to work earlier today. I'm still not feeling the hottest, but if I felt like this in the morning, I'll probably still work, even though I still feel like garbage. That's why I have sick days, but I don't get sick pay for missing the show, so the show must go on. What else? I did manage to do a whole bunch of prep for the show, because there's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about, including the fact that we apparently now have King Trump. That's right, we have King Trump, and we'll be getting on that in a little bit as well. Talking over some of the executive actions that this idiot president has done, including one on in vitro fertilization that I don't necessarily believe that we should give any credence to. I don't think Donald Trump is actually going to do anything that's going to piss off his ultra-conservative, extremist, right-wing MAGA base that hates IVF because they view it as the same thing as abortions because it causes embryos to be discarded. We'll get to that in a little bit. Thank you, Progressively Independent, for becoming a liberal Danimal. Appreciate you. You can also become a liberal Danimal as little as $2 a month. You can gift memberships as well. I pinned to the top of the chat my Nerdy Dance stream. I do my Nerdy Dance stream every Tuesday, and on that, sometimes I get game sponsorships. There's a game for your phone. You can download it and play it. It's just a cute little puzzle game, and you have, I think, 8 days left in order to make sure that you can get as many levels as possible. It's free to download, free to play, and if you get up to level 180 or 300, you'll get some things, but hitting levels 20, 40, 60, etc., low, or maybe it's 20, 50, 100, and then every 20 from that point on. You also get benefits the show, helps the show. You can do it for free. If you do want to spend money on the game, a $2.99 purchase, $2.99 purchase actually gets me $4. So that's the best way to get the most bang for your buck if you're contributing to the show. So yeah, lots of different ways that you could support the show. Thank you, Impeccable Living. You may be sick, but you still look good. Appreciate you, and thank you for the $10 super chat. I'm trying to give it a little bit. I forget exactly who it was. I don't think she's here yet. I forget the name, the actual username. But someone did request that I do a singing of the news. So we will be doing a short, brief singing of one at least news topic that's related to the above here as well. When we get into that, we'll give it a few minutes to let more people trickle on into the show, let more people, chat about it so they can hear my lovely singing voice, or lack thereof. I'll leave that up to you. Tim, can we take a vote? What, for singing the news or not? It'll be very short. It's like only a chorus of one song at this point. I haven't expanded it to be a whole thing. I'll probably record it and post it anyway, in case anybody misses it. So anyway, let's see. Cosmic Rose just added you to my Blue Sky starter pack for folks. Thank you so much for adding me to the starter pack. Appreciate you. So again, yes, we got our Villaby and Cosmic Rose over on Twitch as well, and it was along with Aaron. So thank you all so much for joining over there as well. Janelle, hey Janelle, and I didn't say I mentioned Tim, but I didn't say hi to Tim. So hello Tim as well. Thank you all for joining the show. We have a Words of Redneck Wisdom this week. That is pretty long, but it goes longer than usual. But I decided to go ahead and still do it simply because of the fact that there was a whopper. A bunch of doozies of people calling in to Jeff Careau's show this morning, and we just got back-to-back moronacy, if that's a word. Back-to-back morons calling into Jeff Careau's Ringside Politics show, and you'll see just how bad it is. Holy crap. So, yeah, there's that. So we'll get into talking to a bunch of the stuff that we will be talking about. Let's quickly, I guess we'll go some minor things, I suppose, first before, and one of them, they're not necessarily minor, but shorter things to cover as people are trickling. Let's see, Aaron, is anybody else buffering? I don't notice buffering going on my side. It doesn't, like, I can kind of see sometimes when there's buffering. I'm not seeing it at this point in time, so it might be yours, Aaron. On Twitch, I'm still seeing that my stream is unstable. I don't know why that is, because apparently it still looks like it's going fine on Twitch. I don't know. Looks like we have 6,000 megabits per second on both, which is actually good. It's better than what it used to be on my last laptop. So, let's see. My foster dog kicked my computer a few times. Well, it's definitely the dog's fault, but still give the dog love from me and from everybody else as well. So, hee. Anyway, so couple of things to talk about first before we get to a lot of the other stuff that we want to talk about. Utah, the state of Utah, has voted and they enacted into law a ban on public unions participating in collective bargaining. Yeah, I could have sung about this, I guess, as part of my news, but I didn't have as much time to actually focus on writing a whole ass parody. That's the news of the week. But we'll see if y'all like the small one that I'll do earlier, and maybe we'll expand it if there's more likes. So after 2 weeks of protest at the Utah State Capitol, state has banned collective bargaining for teachers, police officers, firefighters, and other public employees. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox, a Republican, signed the ban as protests continued. Federal law protects the collective bargaining rights of workers in the private sector, but determining labor law for public employees is up to the states. Supporters of the law argue that labor unions were inherently political, and that allowing them to engage in collective bargaining on behalf of public employees presented a conflict of interest that would burden the taxpayer. No, you just want to screw over unions, and if you take away the ability of a union to participate in collective bargaining, you take away the teeth from the union. In a statement following the governor's signature, the association said state lawmakers had ignored the voices of thousands. Opposition groups promised to fight. Looks like Utah will become the most anti-labor state in America, and I'm sure other people will follow suit. Other states will follow suit, especially ones that are colored red. Jordan Tusker, a Republican, said in a statement, Republican lawmakers were pleased to see the governor sign the bill. The bill upholds democratic principles and expands individual freedoms for Utah's dedicated public employees. No, it does not expand individual freedoms for public employees, not one bit. They don't like unions because they don't like the fact that people can come together and collectively bargain and get themselves a better deal when it comes to the employees, because employees as a whole do a better job if they bargain as a collective, do better at the negotiating table than employees doing it at an individual rate. Like me being an individual trying to argue for a job, I might be able to do that, but if a bunch of people get together and negotiate the rate, they're going to have a much better time, a much more successful time negotiating that deal. But conservatism is often trying to squash unions while being hypocritical in that they want to make sure that people who don't want to be in the union and don't want to pay union dues still have to be covered by union protections that take place. So that, which is BS. If you don't want to pay dues, you shouldn't get the protection of the unions. However, you should also be required to pay union dues if that's the agreement that the union negotiates with the employers, because in a free market economy, like conservatives like to talk about, conservatives love the invisible hand of the free market. They pleasure themselves with the invisible hand of the free market all the time.
Oh my!
And they're sitting there and they loved this straw man of what the free market is, but when it comes down to actual free market principles, they balk, because in a free market, employees would be able to form together, employees would be able to make a union, and they would be able to collectively bargain as a union, and that should be under their constitutionally protected rights and freedom of association. They should be able to do all that. But conservatives will make exceptions when, of course, it harms them, it harms corporations, anything that goes against the worker, I guess, is good by conservatism's stance. So there's that. Jeff Curry, I don't smash the like button. I treat it like a lady. I take my finger and, well, I hit the like button. Gently caress it. Use your thumb and pretend like you're spinning a Pokeball. Anyway, sorry. Maybe that's a little graphic.
Oh my.
Anyway, and as they said, teachers and other public employees will still have rights to organize, advocate for themselves, and receive union support. Yeah, no, but if you take away their teeth, what good is it? It's like a club at that point. So, of course, it passed the wildly Republican Utah legislature. The Utah governor signed it into law. What else do you expect from the red state of Utah? Good to see you, Big Hook. Thank you for joining the show. Hey, Jackie. Nice to see you as well. So that's one thing from the state of Utah that Utah is trying to screw up. Another thing that Utah is doing is they introduced a bill that it was originally aimed to ban pride flags in schools and on government property. It had to be amended the other night because the bill would have allowed people to fly flags like, Nazi flags and Confederate flags on school property. Now, they reworded the bill to make it so that you can only fly certain flags, like, maybe your state flag, the United States flag, like the MIA POW flag, college, I guess, campus flags or whatever would be fine. But they have to be on a list of approved flags that you can fly. You can't fly any others on the grounds, but you can display a flag in your classroom as long as it's part of a curriculum that is being taught. So if you're teaching a story about the Civil War, you can hang a Confederate flag in your class as long as teaching about the Civil War is part of the curriculum that is approved, I guess, in Utah state schools. Now, we would like to think that you would always learn about the Confederacy because learning about our history is a very important thing to do, but the fact that, conservatives don't like to learn about our history, they like to whitewash the history. People like Ron DeSantis in Florida wants to teach things like, slavery taught the enslaved people skills so that they can be employed later on. Of course, that didn't say anything about all of the people who were enslaved, who were born into slavery and then died in slavery and never got to do anything other than be slaves. Ignoring that part. But, you could also fly a German, flag with a swastika on it from World War II in your class, apparently only if the curriculum allows it. But still, it could still be presented right there. But I'm guaranteeing to you that they're not going to allow the teaching of issues about LGBTQA folks, about pride, about anything else. So there'll be no way that you could fly a pride flag on campus because of the war that conservatives have on the LGBTQA community. And so as such, you'll still be able to see, I guess, a Nazi or Confederate flag on state property after this law is enacted, but you'll never see one with the pride flag because they will never allow that to be part of the curriculum as well, which, sucks because conservatives love to, sweep people under the rug that they don't like. So there's that. We're not going to go deep into the bill text because it's like amended this is amended this way. There's other stuff that's not relevant to the topic of conversations. We're not going to go into all that. What else do we have? This terribly horrible story from Texas. Of course it's from Texas because why wouldn't it be from Texas? Is yes, full-on Nazi, yes. Musk. Kimchi, thanks, Liberal Dan. I'm looking for tips on my new lesbian endeavors. Men suck, period. And not in the fun way. And, but yes, learn how to play Pokemon Go and do that thumb movement to try and throw a curveball in Pokemon Go. And that's lesson 101 on how to please your partner. From Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. I'm not going to get too much into detail because, again, that should be stuff that will be saved eventually if we get to the point where I can justify doing Liberal Dan After Dark and have like the Sex with Liberal Dan show. Maybe I'll go into more detail about that. But, the curveball for the Pokeball is all you need to know right now. So let's see. Utah is weird enough said. The funny thing about Utah is that when I listened on Fridays to the Jeff Carrere Ringside Politics program, he'll have somebody who is from Utah. And they say that the Utah senators are rhinos. Like, they don't like Mitt Romney. They don't like the new senator, I guess, that replaced Mitt Romney or whatever. They just seem to complain that, Utah elects rhinos. But, rhinos is people. Basically, at this point, a rhino is somebody who's not a MAGA fool. So, Utah, Mike Lee is the extreme example, exactly. Did you hear that Sean Hannity called Laura Trump Laura shit? I did not hear that. I mean, there's so much news coming out. How are you going to cover every single thing or hear every single thing? That's why it's important, as I said, to make sure that we lift all of the liberal creators' voices up. I mean, I want mine lifted clearly. I want to be able to have my show be more popular, more successful. I want to be able to justify doing this every night of the week, and I will if we are. But it's not just about me. It's about the country. It's about saving this country. It's about protecting our freedoms. It's about protecting marginalized and oppressed people. It's about doing the right thing. And the right thing is not doing the conservative thing. That's why I say this is talk from the left. That's right. Because we're bringing you the right conversation, and the only way to be right is to be from the left. Hey, Surrender Monkey, good to see you. Hey, MJ Daniel as well. Waka Waka Wow, what? So Texas. An 11-year-old schoolgirl from Texas has taken her own life after bullies threatened to call U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to deport her. A spokesperson for Gainesville Independent School District told Newsweek top priority of the Gainesville ISD is to ensure safe and comfortable learning environment for all students. Because of this, we take any reports of bullying seriously and have a zero-tolerance policy. I guess they didn't, because this person was being bullied for weeks, and they didn't do crap about it. Sixth graders passing away comes from the Trump administration intensifies efforts to deport individuals living in the U.S. illegally. On Tuesday, the White House shared a video showing migrants in shackles being escorted onto planes. The 11-year-old schoolgirl name is Jocelyn Rojo Carranza. She ended her life after months of bullying from her fellow 6th grade classmates who targeted her over her family's supposed immigration status, some even threatening to report them to ICE. Her classmates allegedly told her that once their family was deported, she would be left all alone in the U.S. However, there is no suggestion or no proof of any sort that the Carranza family were living in the U.S. illegally. They were not. There's no evidence that they violated our border policies. There's no suggestion or thought that they might have been people who Donald Trump may have deported. As such, let's say on February 3rd, Maribela Carranza, a single mother from Gainesville, received a call informing that her 11-year-old daughter had attempted to take her own life. She was taken to intensive care in Dallas. She fought for life but passed away on February 8th. She waited a whole week for the miracle that her daughter would be well, but unfortunately nothing can be done. Maribela Carranza, who only learned of her daughter's bullying after her passing, is now working with investigators and school officials to uncover what led to the situation and why her family was never informed. Because they don't take bullying seriously, because it's Texas, because they don't give a crap about people who are Latino, Latinas, Latinx, etc. They don't give a crap about those people. The only reason that they like that they'll tolerate Hispanic people at some point is they will use them to gerrymander their districts so that they could shove as many individuals who are not citizens into congressional districts to enable them to have Republicans with only 40% of the district but still win because a good chunk of the district is made up of people who are not citizens and as such cannot vote, because the Constitution requires you every census to counter all persons living in the state. Doesn't matter what their citizenship status is. It doesn't matter what even their, whatever quote legal status they are. If have they crossed the border legally, have they not? Are they asylum seekers? It doesn't matter. According to the Constitution, you are supposed to count all persons. And all persons, there's no exceptions, there's no asterisks, etc. It's all persons. So, yes, MJ Daniel, evil. The GOP has embraced pure evil. Absolutely. 100% pure evil that's being embraced by this administration, the GOP, the MAGA folks, and as it goes on, as they continue, as we start seeing more and more stories like this, like others, Donald Trump has emboldened the people to come bully everybody. I'm not going to compare myself and Trucker John to what happened here, but if you were here on Monday night on the show, you had the first time ever people coming into my chat and typing out the N-word. Multiple people doing so. Donald Trump has emboldened the bigots and the racists and everything, the xenophobes to come out en masse. Apparently they invaded Trucker John's chat on yesterday, and a lot of them are being horrible and terrible people as well. Impeccable living. You just know right-wingers are laughing about this story. Oh, absolutely. They're not going to see any problem with that story whatsoever. I got 20 viewers now, so I think it's good. Let's, first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead. We're going to play Words of Redneck Wisdom. If you're not familiar with the show, Words of Redneck Wisdom, I take usually it started by me like reading what other people said. Like I found this blog that was full of horrible, terrible stuff. And I would just sit here and read it in my conservative redneck type voice, and I would read verbatim what they said, and then I would put some Mozart under it, and that would be the words of redneck wisdom. But nowadays I typically tend to find usually it's people who sound like that who call into Jeff's show or to other shows that, you know, or if I can see, if I see their voices online, or if I can hear the voices online or whatever, and download it, record it, or whatever, and stick it in the audio, that'll be the words that I get. The first person in this week's twofer of Words of Redneck Wisdom doesn't actually sound with that stereotypical whatever, but he likes to think that he's the smartest person in the room, and you actually hear him try and say that he's the smartest person in the room, but you'll quickly learn that he's not, and both of these people just prove why Donald Trump said that he loves the poorly educated, and why the poorly educated bend over. That's why the poorly educated bend over backwards and forwards over and over again to try and prove themselves worthy about that love. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start playing this week's Words of Redneck Wisdom.
And now, Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio.
When I was 5 years old, I read the encyclopedia from A to Z, and I've always had an interest in knowledge. And my friends call me a walking encyclopedia because there's nothing any topic I'm not familiar with. Now, in regards to the doctor, what he was saying about the vaccines and the NRA vaccines that they're using and what they were really meant for, I have a master's in nuclear physics. And one of the things I look at is what it would actually do on a nuclear level. And I want the doctor to come on so he can validate this. Because what the vaccines are only not doing, they're attacking the DNA of people, but also they're also setting your biorhythmic rhythms on your body, so that when you decide to use the 5G, it will excite the molecules in your body in the nuclear level and basically kill selected people. They could do that because when they did the vaccines, they had them numbered. They know who took what and where they're at, and they wanted to target certain people.
But wait, there's more.
I got diabetes, and every time I go to the doctor, I got a lot of things wrong with me, but every time I go to the doctor, they want to give me a COVID shot or a flu shot or something like that. I'm from the old school. I haven't been vaccinated for anything ever. I didn't have school shots or nothing. I mean, I've never been vaccinated for anything. My dad wouldn't let me wouldn't let him give it to me because I had a cousin that started the first grade, and he got the shot, the vaccines for polio and measles and everything, and he died that night. He got a fever and died that night. Cooked his brain. His fever got hot. I've had all the childhood diseases. I mean, natural immunity. That's the key, see. This nanotechnology that's called magnetoinfection, what they're doing with these magnetic pulses and these nanoparticles, I call them nanobots. Okay, what I was getting to at the hospital, they begged me to use Ozempic, okay? And I told my doctor, I'd had many talks with her about this magnetoinfection. I said, if it's got, it saved me from taking insulin shots every day, once a week, And I thought, that sounds like magnetoinfection. So, okay, she told me it was. So I checked up on it before I give her the okay, and that's exactly what it was. It's hydrogels, and it's in practically everything at the hospital, at the pharmacy that's liquid, okay? The only way they can use this stuff without injecting it in your body is through liquid, because it changes once it dries and turns into the magnetoinfection, the stuff that alters your genetics, okay? And they're not only using that magnetoinfection, those lipid nanobots for everything. Those nanobots for everything. They're spraying them, bombarding our atmosphere with them on a daily basis, creating atmospheric rivers, bombs, cyclones, polar vortexes. That's how controlling the weather now, so they blame it on their arch enemy, climate change, right? It's all got to do with nanotechnology. They have it. Look at CRISPR. Just look at a little bit of what CRISPR has done, and you'll see that they're wanting to rearrange man's molecule. That's what this transhumanism stuff's all about. Whoever's left after they wipe us, the ones they want out, they want them to be good little worker bees. They want them to be happy in a realm that don't exist, like these kids with these glasses on, swinging these little things around, playing with them all the time, conditioning them for a
VR,
false reality.
Right.
It's all connected, Jeff.
Okay.
And everybody says I'm a nut, but I ain't. But
And this concludes Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Well, everybody says I'm a nut, but I ain't. I reckon that everybody is correct, and I reckon that you might need to listen to those people more because holy crap. Wow. I mean, I was just shocked that both of those fools, both of those morons were just happened to go back to back talking about like the 5G and the Magneto infection with the nanobots. And I was like, Magneto? Yeah, is this the X-Men? Like, are we still going to start hearing that awesome X-Men theme? Great. The X-Men 97 cartoon, both the original one and I guess the now one on Disney Plus. I mean, that theme song, you know, just to change the subject for a brief second, is better than it has any business being. That theme song just slaps. Fancy. You need a short of that, Dan. Oh, I recorded that as it was going, and I mean, I still had it, the audio as well, but it will be posted after the show. Don't believe you me. But yeah, I had one comment though. Kimchi was like, I can't roll my eyes back far enough. I was like, maybe, is that why you've given up on dudes? Because you can't roll your eyes back? But yeah, no, this person is making everyone's eyes roll back, but not in the good way. Because, again, I've used the second one in previous Words of Redneck Wisdom before. That first one is some kind... We don't actually talk directly on the show, but we, like, give little, like, barbs back and forth between our calls. Because this guy thinks, like... The first one thinks that he is, like... he's like, I don't understand why the Trump administration won't let me help them out. Because I know all this stuff. And they would help me. I'm like, dude, you're one of the poorly educated that Donald Trump talked about when he said that he loved the poorly educated after the 2016 Nevada primaries. There ain't no way in hell that he's going to include you in any significant part of the administration. The teenagers that Elon Musk has hired to go, look at the code on, in the Social Security system and then come to bad conclusions about what the code means are still probably more smart than either of those two people combined. So... But yeah, totally. It totally reminds you of Art Bell. There is somebody actually calls into that show also who's definitely somebody who listened to Art Bell. I think he's actually cited Art Bell or George Norrie, I think, at this point from time to time. But TV2 Live, yeah. Parents were sibling, uncle, daddy, aunt, mom. Their family tree just has one branch. That sort of thing. Uncle by marriage. Yeah, so, yeah, that is just, all of that was just, I mean, I tried to make it shorter, there was not enough stuff, I could not leave some of that stuff out. It was just so amazingly just crazy and stupid. The Magneto infection, holy crap. That'll be the emails he sends, plus part of the cabinet, just $47. Yeah, I'm surprised that Donald Trump has. If you want to help the Donald Trump presidency do the right thing, you can pay us $47 a day, and we'll take your advice. He'll convince the people to pay him to work for him, to do whatever it is that they want to do. Of course, what they claim that they want to do and what they're actually doing are two different things. Let's see. So it was requested, though, before we get into some of the other topics, as we delve on, it was requested of me the other day that maybe I should, I think I sung something, and that maybe I should be singing some of the headlines or whatever. So I haven't thought of a full-on song or a montage of songs, if you will, to be able to discuss discuss the news events of the day or whatever. But you know, King Trump blames Ukraine for the Russia invasion. Is he dumb? Is he a puppet? Or is he both? My money is on both, that he's both dumb and a puppet. And we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about that. But if you did want to, hear me singing or hear more Liberal Dan Sings the News, I did have a brief little idea, so I'm going to show it to you now. If you don't like my singing, I guess now's the time to cover your ears, right? So a little parody off of Elton John, if you will. So, sorry. Well, I guess that's why I'm singing the news. Donald Trump's lies giving all us the blues. Blaming Zelensky for Putin's action. MAGA's the dumbest political faction. So I guess that's why I'm singing the blues. I'm sorry, I should be like, I guess that's why I'm singing the news. Anyway, there you go. Screwed it up the first time. Look at that. So anyway, that was my first little foray into singing the news. So there you go. See, impeccable living. Should we all move to other countries or stay and fight for a better future? I have very poor mental health, and I have 2 therapists and a psychotherapist or whatever. Thank you, Cosmic Rose, for the applause. Of course, I screwed it up. I might have to edit it. I think I can edit it because I recorded it or whatever. So, thank you, Penny to Create. Appreciate you. Lower at 1 active. Yeah, I was thinking about, I guess that's why I'm singing the news. Donald Trump's lies giving all us the blues. Blaming Zelensky for Putin's actions. MAGA's the dumbest political faction. So I guess that's why I'm singing the news. That would be me doing it lower. So which one, higher or lower? Super chat, $5 for higher, $10 for lower. Just kidding. Thank you, Impeccable Living. You like that version better? All right. So, yes, baby, making my seat rumbles. Go even lower. I love the blues. Just saying. Yeah, well, I mean, So, we'll see. We'll work on it. Maybe from time to time, I'll come up with other... I don't know if I'm going to keep it just all the time doing off of Elton John's and just doing, I guess that's why I'm singing the news. A Disturbed version is better. I do have a song that is a parody of... Are you saying that because you know? Or did Disturbed do a version of that Elton John song? I don't know. I have to look that up. But I do have a parody on this channel from Disturbed's version of The Sound of Silence. And it's called The Sound of Freedom because, Jim Caviezel did a movie about, called The Sound of Freedom, and he basically, while trying to advertise the movie, he started spreading some anti-Semitic BS. So yeah. So I start off really like, Jim Caviezel's my old friend. My fanship for you's at an end. I'd play it, live over the thing now, but I don't want to get a copyright strike or whatever. I don't want to have the entire revenue of this audio be, taken away or whatever because I use the karaoke version of The Sound of Silence to get that done. So, yeah, I mean, I love the Disturbed version of The Sound of Silence, and I use that basically just to come up with a full-on parody. I mean, it's just from beginning to the end. And the funny thing about that parody is that even before Disturbed did the Sound of Silence cover, or their version of it, I don't even know if it's fair to call it a cover because it's just so good. It's like their own thing. There's the line, I think I think the original lyric is "Take my arm so that I might reach you" or something like that. And I really thought it sounded like they said, take my arms and I'm an angry Jew. Because I'm Jewish, and if you took my arms, I probably would be quite angry. I'm sorry, I think it's like, take my arms and I'm an angry Jew. I think that's the way it goes. But yeah, so I was able to use the word Jew, I guess, in the thing because because of course Jim Caviezel played Passion of the Christ, and in that movie he played a 2,000-year-old Jew. So I was able to get that into the song, even though I didn't quite do the exact same misheard lyrics or whatever. So, hey Billy Kid, thank you for joining. Hey Dawn, good to see you as well. So, maybe at the end of the show I'll re-sing the thing at the end of the show, so A, people can see it, and B, maybe I'll get a better recording of it so I don't have to edit it after the fact. So we'll see what I feel like doing, or I might just do a whole new version after the show's over. I don't know. Let's see. Kimchi, who called to check up on me after my surgery? Not my two male friends, not even my sister, my best friend, who I see once a year. Black women save me again. Black women save you. Black women have saved this country. At least they did in 2020. Unfortunately, there were not enough black women to come out to counter the sexism and racism and xenophobia that came out to support Trump in this past election, which is highly unfortunate. So, so let's see what else we got here. But yeah, so King Trump, let's take a look at that, shall we? If you haven't seen what's going on with this, let's flip over to the alternate. I guess I should move this over here, because Donald Trump used his muscle or whatever to use his political weight to stop congestion pricing in New York. If you don't know what congestion pricing is, if you haven't heard that biggest complaint, one of the big complaints about, from the right, from the crazies, is that they don't like the fact that the city of New York wanted to try and reduce traffic jams within the city of Manhattan, within the borough of Manhattan. So they wanted to charge increased tolls during high congested times to basically dissuade you from using your own vehicle and instead encourage you to use public transportation. And unlike many cities like New Orleans, the city of New York has a robust public transportation system, from buses and subways, etc. Many different ways to get around the city of New York. All 5 boroughs, not just the borough of Manhattan. But they're mad about it because they think it's government overreach, whatever, even though technically, according to the 10th Amendment, which they hate in reality, it would give state and local governments the ability to determine whether or not they're going to put tolls on traffic. But for some reason, I guess Donald Trump, has the ability to not do that. For some reason, my headset's beeping. I don't know why. So, but anyway. But again, congested pricing is dead. Manhattan and all New York is saved. Long live the king. Calling himself king. I didn't vote for him. And then he posts this. This image is posted to the official Facebook page. The official Facebook page of the White House. This freaking image. How can anybody... You cannot claim to be a patriot if you support Donald Trump doing this. You cannot claim to love this country, love the republic for which it stands, love, America and what we're supposed to be built on, and then have a president do this. Now, if it was some parody account, kind of like, praising Trump or what have you, if it was that going on, I'd just laugh at them for being, morons. But I wouldn't, be as annoyed as I am as this. But this is the official Facebook account of the White House posting that Donald Trump is the king. He said he wanted to be dictator on day one. I guess emphasis on the word dick. And now he's proclaiming himself king. And while people might say, oh, well, he can't be king, he can't really be king because, we have a constitution and the constitution says that he's president, not king. Yeah, okay, whatever. If you have a Congress that will bend over backwards and forwards for him and do his wishes, if you have a Supreme Court that will do his wishes for him, then you might not have a king in name, but you have a de facto king, because that's the end result, is that he gets to do whatever the hell it is he wants, with help of the previous Supreme Court ruling that basically says that none of his communications can be subpoenaed because they're all considered privileged, regardless of whether or not they're dealing with illegal activities or not. So, here we go. And I'm sure these MAGA idiots are going to be clapping their hands like they're deranged monkeys, like the monkeys with the chimes or whatever. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, no narcissism here to see. Move along. Pay no attention to the scumbag behind the curtain, right? Is that a plane falling in the sky in the background? Well, there was another plane that crashed today, or was another plane collision or whatever. Plane collisions, I guess this is what happens when you actually end up having, a hatred of regulations. If you don't like regulations, you're going to have planes falling out the sky because you're going to be less likely to have those things regulated. I'm wondering if something happens with Boeing again. Let's say Boeing has another problem. Are they going to, investigate it? Or are they just going to turn a blind eye and say, oh, we're just going to leave it up to Boeing to determine what the dealio is? We're just going to leave it up to Boeing. Because that's what they think. They think the private sector is the answer to everything.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Apparently my left thing is off. That's why I kept getting beeping. I don't know why. But, that's one of the main reasons I play the It Is What It Is. Because I wanted to hear if any of my headsets are, any of that was working. And if it would actually play out to y'all. So, Kimchi, high-class callboy. Don't put yourself down like that. Wait, what? What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I miss? Oh, wait, I'm on top chat for some reason. That's stupid. Let's go back to... There we go. Biden should have used his immunity on Trump. We'd be so much better off. Yeah, yeah. He should have... He could have tested that theory. Of course, unfortunately, he didn't. Oh, that's what he said. Presidents shouldn't troll about being king, but what do I know? I'm just a classy gay whore. Hilarious. So, is that poop on his jacket? He probably just thinks it's war, problems from war. All the damage, maybe it's him fighting for you as Americans, fighting for the American people. But yeah, it's shit. It is absolutely 100% grade A prime BS. So, let us change our background for a second because we're going to talk about this for a second before we go back to talking about, I guess, King Trump, maybe. My Magic 8 Ball says, all signs point to yes. Is it nunt warning? What's a nunt warning? Does he know he looks like a demented Archie? He'd be like, no, Archie looks like a demented me. At least Burger King gave it. It should have been a Burger King crown. That's what it should have been. It should have been the Burger King crown. But you start hearing Metallica, where's your crown, King? Nothing. Of course, that wasn't from one of their best albums or whatever. So, see, how does trickle down work if it with his soup pants and shit jacket? You don't want to know what trickles down for Donald Trump. You don't even want to know what's trickling down on Donald Trump. Apparently, Putin has the tape, though. So... And don't forget the P-tape. The Russian hooker P-tape. That's part of my We'll Fight Back song from 2020. Back before Liberal Dan Radio was actually, had all of y'all following and listening along or whatever. But yes, I do still need to make, I guess, a third parody from Hamilton for that whole King George thing. But maybe it'll be King Don now doing it. So let's see. So now that we have King, can we elect a prime minister to run the place? He'll tell you, we don't need that. We have Prime Minister Musk. King Trump, Prime Minister Musk. That's what we have. So, anywho. So, let us, hold on, let's get this ready. Because we're going to switch in the middle of this as we record. So, Donald Trump posted this under his promises made, promises kept. Average daily illegal border apprehension. So is he saying that the apprehensions that he's doing is illegal? I mean, words have meaning, folks. And basically the way he's worded it now is that he's basically saying that the apprehensions that are going on the border are illegal. Right? I mean, that's what he's saying, right? So he's saying before Trump, there were 2,000 border apprehensions. And after Trump, we're not after Trump. It should be during Trump. Again, this just shows how dumb this guy is, how dumb he and his administration is. We're not after Trump. We're in the middle of the Trump hellscape that is this country at this point. Border crossings down 86%. So those are the numbers that we're dealing with. And of course he says, promises made, promises kept, asterisk data from the U.S. Custom and Border Patrol. So yes. So is it daily border apprehensions or is it crossings? That's the key here. Are we talking about apprehensions? Or are we talking about crossings? Because here's the key. And I've made this point before about Donald Trump's claims on his border numbers from his last presidency as well. And I've also compared those to this COVID thing, to his COVID statements. Because remember when Donald Trump in Tulsa, Oklahoma, remember when he said that he wanted people to slow down or stop the testing because if you have more testing, you have more cases. Of course, that is a stupid, moronic thing to say. You have the cases. People will still have COVID whether or not you test them for COVID or not. Testing just reveals the number of cases that we have in this country. That's what testing would reveal. But he didn't want people knowing the actual numbers. He wanted to lie to the American people because the lives of the American people that would be helped by having a robust testing system and as such being able to target where outbreaks are going on at any particular time would have helped more Americans stay alive. But he didn't care about that. He just wanted to get reelected or to try and get reelected because he was more worried about the optics than anything else. So what about here? Again, he's talking about average daily border apprehensions, but he then cites crossings. So why would I not believe? Why would I sit here and believe that Donald Trump is being honest about these numbers and that he was accurately representing the amount of people crossing the border? Why would I think that he would be going about and actually doing, his quote job in protecting the border, what we elected him to do, as they would say? Why would I believe that he's actually doing what he said he's doing? I have no reason to believe that. Specifically because of the things he said about COVID and testing and stopping testing. It benefits Donald Trump more to reduce the actual number of apprehensions that take place so that he can make it look like apprehensions are down, so that he can make it look like border crossings are down, so that he can make it look like his statistics are wonderful, he's padding his numbers, so he's making himself look like he's the great person in charge of the border, when in reality, he's not. Again, I have no reason to believe that these numbers are coming from an honest attempt to, quote, secure the border. Again, his border security policies are based on xenophobia and bigotry, and I don't support them to begin with. But he is going to sit here and tell you how great of a job he's doing. He's going to pee on you and tell you it's raining. He's going to tell you all this BS. But at the end of the day, I have no reason to believe that these numbers accurately represent the number of actual border crossings that are taking place. Just like how they were using the whole things about fentanyl. They said that, fentanyl went up under Biden. No. There's no evidence that the amount of fentanyl that crossed the border went up under Biden. The only evidence that we have is that Biden actually apprehended people crossing the border with fentanyl and stopped a lot of fentanyl from crossing the border or from coming into the country after having crossed the border. That is what Biden did. Why would I believe that Donald Trump actually stopped people from crossing the border with fentanyl or that fentanyl crossings were down when Donald Trump clearly is willing to lie to us about the numbers? So if you believe that these numbers are an accurate representation of the amount of people that are crossing the border every day, I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. Speaking of the the transportation and the tolls going on in the city of New York, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you. If you actually believe that. Again, Donald Trump in 2016, after the Nevada primary, said that he loves the poorly educated, and every day the poorly educated bend over backwards or forwards to try and prove themselves worthy of that love. So anybody who believes these numbers and believes that Donald Trump is somebody who could be trusted to represent the numbers accurately is somebody who is actively trying to prove to Donald Trump that they're still worthy of that love that he professed for them in 2016. What do you think? Agree? Disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, unless you're a Nazi, have a good day. God damn. I am coughing like crazy. Progressively independent. I don't believe a word he says. Well, sure, because y'all watch Liberal Dan Radio. And one of the reasons I create these small clips to and post them up to YouTube after the show is because I know not everybody is gonna, have the brain power to be able to sit here and absorb 2 to 3 hours of Liberal Dan Radio, talk from left, that's right, twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. Y'all do, but y'all are highly intelligent people. You're going to find people who are going to say, oh, I believe those numbers. And then you could, once that video gets uploaded, it'll probably be live tomorrow. You could share that video with other people. And you can say, hey, this is why you shouldn't believe Donald Trump, because he's lied about numbers before. He's showed us that he's willing to lie about the numbers before, and he'll do it again and again and again and again. Ad infinitum. That's a big hook. Kimchi, he also chimed in to say Gulf of America was more inclusive. Because there's a North America and South America, so because it's all the Americas, it includes all of Americas. So it's just childish. It's like, again, this is one of these things. Do you attack him for the silliness of the Gulf of America or renaming the Gulf of Mexico? Because I'm not calling it the Gulf of America. I'm not using that name for it. It's the Gulf of Mexico. It has been the Gulf of Mexico for hundreds of years. It will continue to be the Gulf of Mexico to reasonable and sane people from now on. Because we know the reason he's doing it is vanity project, to own the libs, to be a distraction for all the other horrible things that he's doing. But again, we can't let him get away with any of the things that he's doing. So that's why we have to speak up against everything he does. We just have to make sure to give the topics the appropriate weight. Like spend a couple minutes talking about the Gulf of Mexico stupidity, and then talk about, border crossings, or talk about how we don't believe anything that Donald Trump says on issues and Musk says about anything pertaining to, anything coming out of Doge, anything coming out of anything else that he says. Impeccable living. Poor Dan, I wish I could make you feel better. Yeah, I really need something to help my throat. Hold on.
Oh my.
There you go. A little softball for you. I bet you couldn't climb that mountain of condoms. Pretty slippy. Are we in Matt Gaetz' hotel room? Yeah, there's a large mountain of condoms, and of course, that's one of the things that I was going to be talking about next, is including that again. Loose lips sinks ships. Steve, yeah, loose lips. I don't know. Some people might have loose lips in another way, right? Wait, sorry.
Oh my.
There you go. Let's see. How tall would a mountain of 100,000 or 100 million worth of condoms be? I don't know. Are they Magnum condoms? Are they extra small condoms? Are they like the finger condom things that people use that Donald Trump would also have to use? Like what size condoms are we talking about? I'm sure it would still either way be a pretty hefty pile of condoms. But of course, as we all know, the condoms were not going to Hamas in Gaza in the Middle East. They were going to to Gaza in Mozambique to help fight the AIDS epidemic. But don't let facts get in the way. Oh, I was thinking about helping with my... oh, okay. Well, that deserves another.
Oh my.
There you go. It's okay to be Takei, as George Takei once said. All right, so is Nick Rich here? I don't think I've seen Nick pop into the chat yet. So I bow to the Gulf of Fancy. Hey, David, good to see you. MAGA mini gherkin condoms. Yeah. You could fit 3 Donald Trumps in one of these and still have room for a sandwich. Anyway, I don't know if that made sense or not, but See, I don't know now if I'm going to be able to re-sing that song. I'll probably sing it after the fact if I can't edit the video to have, to have the right words. I think I should be able to, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Or I'll do it the low version. I don't know. But I'm asking for Nick Rich because it's time for another Liberal Dan Radio Fat Man Rant. And some of this is probably some of the stuff you've already heard about this on Monday, but, I didn't do it in rant form, so... And I think if you look at the number of Fat Man rants that have been done prior to Trump getting reelected and then after Trump getting reelected, as Trump would say, before Trump and after Trump. We're not after Trump, but after his election. Maybe that's what he meant. But of course, Donald Trump's a stupid idiot and doesn't, understand meanings of words and stuff like that. So, this is spawned by, let's see, did I miss something? Hey, Surrender Monkey, for climbing boots and a sexy mountain nightgown. Thank you very much, Surrender Monkey. Appreciate you. Why are all of my internet crushes straight? I am technically pansexual, Impeccable Living, just to let you know. I am married to a woman, but I am technically pansexual. Maybe I'll talk about that more when I get to if I am ever easy for me to say. If I'm ever able to do a Liberal Dan Radio After Dark or whatever it is, I will. We can talk about that more often. I may have talked about that show earlier today, but I don't allow what gender is on somebody's birth certificate to determine whether or not I have an attraction to them. So I think the short story to explain it is that, one of the people I hooked up in the past turned out to be a trans man after the fact, like came out of the closet as a trans man. So when I knew him, he wasn't out, but after we stopped seeing each other, he then came out. And so, but if he would have come out in the middle of us seeing each other, I wouldn't have stopped dating him. If he would have come out in the middle, we would have continued to keep seeing each other. And I'm not going to, even though I knew him prior to coming out of the closet, I'm not going to use his incorrect pronouns. I'm going to give him the respect that he deserves, even though we didn't end our friendship on good terms. But unfortunately, he passed away. But because if I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna say, like, look, if that's the reality of my situation, then how can I say that I'm technically heterosexual when in reality, I have in the past dated somebody who was a man. So I was a trans man, but I didn't know they were trans men at the time. But again, it doesn't change my attraction levels at all. So again, as old Donald would say,
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. But that's the short story of why I label myself as pansexual. Because again, what's on your birth certificate doesn't matter and doesn't play into a part if I'm attracted to you or not. Now, whether or not most of the people that I'm attracted to are femme presenting or not, that's a whole different issue. But still let you buy me a nice dinner. Anyway, so haven't started recording the Fat Man Rant yet, though. So because this is not part of that. And I'm covering up the chat, so I can't really see it right now. Because I'm putting my text right here of the thing that I had, the little outline of things I wanted to talk about. Behind the scenes of Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. So, anyway. There is a disingenuousness of conservatives going around right now, and they're basically saying that the left is against Elon Musk doing what they're doing because the left doesn't want to cut fraud, waste, and abuse. Blah, blah, blah. They're being disingenuous because they think our opposition to Elon Musk has anything to do with the fact that we want fraud and waste and abuse. No, I absolutely want to cut fraud, waste, and abuse from our system. I just don't believe that that's what Musk and Trump are doing. I don't believe that that's their intent. I don't trust them. And my question is, why do y'all, conservatives, MAGA types, why do y'all trust him? Elon has literally said in that little press conference where he was in the Oval Office and speaking for Donald Trump and making Donald Trump look like the weakest president in history, he said that he wouldn't do his own fact checking. He said that we would have to correct him if we find that he's wrong. Why? But shouldn't he be responsible for making sure that the things that he puts out when he's in charge of this so-called department, if his job is so important, shouldn't he make sure to do it correctly? As I've said in previous shows, measure twice, cut once. And you should always measure twice before you cut. Again, be it carpentry, be it the budget, be it circumcisions, etc. So, what has Elon Musk screwed up so far? We already know he's screwed up the story about condoms going to Hamas. They were going to Mozambique. Under Doge, the Trump administration fired workers that were responsible for taking care of the nuclear stockpile because they were probationary and as such not yet civil service, so they felt that they could fire them. And now they're trying to scramble and rehire those people back because they realized that they'd made a mistake. You wouldn't have made a mistake had you measured twice before cutting. Oops. Musk is now claiming that 150-year-olds are getting Social Security. He's wrong about that as well. The systems were programmed in COBOL, an old language that they didn't necessarily know how to deal with certain default date issues, so they defaulted the date back to like 1845 or something like that, whatever the 1875 or whatever the date is that they've used in COBOL. I don't program in COBOL, but I know enough about it to know that, you know, it's an archaic language and they have some archaic standards to deal with issues that they might not have thought about when programming it. Just kind of like, you know, they didn't think about having a 4-year date, and that's why we would have had the Y2K bug, and why a lot of programmers had to deal with that as well. So how many times, MAGA types, how many times all y'all people trying to say that we're not for cutting fraud, waste, and abuse, how many times must Prime Minister Musk and King Trump be wrong in order for y'all to stop believing that what they are doing is genuine? Why would you believe Musk if he refuses to do his own fact-checking? How many times must he be wrong before you start questioning him? Don't come at us and tell us that we don't want to eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse when you are unwilling to hold your own people accountable for their actions or their inactions or their failures. What do you think? Agree or disagree with the comments made here? Make sure to leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and unless you're a Nazi, have a good day. So there you go. Impeccable. I would buy you as many dinners as it takes. I mean, I am on Zepbound, so my appetite, you know, fluctuates based off of that. So let's let you know. You might, you know, it might end up being a cheap date simply because of the fact that the amount of food that I can eat really depends on how my Zepbound is kicking in. So, let's scroll back a smidge. Let's see. Big Hug. I don't see Nick in the dude chat. Perhaps he's busy. He could be busy. We'll see. It's fine. Again, if he likes my Fat Man Rants, there's a playlist of Fat Man Rants, and anybody can watch any of the videos that I post as shorts or as smaller videos whenever they want. And of course, you can always watch the full show as well. Let's see. I hear people with Q and T on passports are being refused re-entry into the U.S. I would not be surprised if that was happening. I mean, there's again, one of the things I spoke about in the last show was the fact that we have to be very careful when representing things that are going on, because I think it's very well possible that the Donald Trump administration is going to purposely put out false information so that we'll report on it, and then they'll be like, well, that's false information. It's fake news, and, you know, and then they'll use it to discredit the people who are discrediting him, because they'll have been releasing all this stuff that we're going to jump on and then be like, oh, that's not true. There's no evidence that is true, except for the fact of one, you know, fake leaker, apparently. So, but again, if that's really going on, then it needs to be reported on, and that's kind of a catch-22 that we have to sit here and worry about being 100% accurate, or else be seen as somebody who is not trustworthy. Meanwhile, Musk doesn't have to worry about being accurate at all, and they're going to trust him till the cows come home. It's the hypocrisy of double standards that the conservatives have towards us, and the conservatives have to their own types. Conservatives, their politicians, their celebs, their whomever can sit here and be wrong every day of the week and twice on Sunday, and they're still going to believe them. We get one thing wrong, and all of a sudden we're persona non grata. So, let's see. It wasn't even condoms. It was antiviral HIV drugs. Well, those were going to, I think there were antiviral HIV drugs that were going to South Africa. It may very well be possible that I don't know if that was the case or not. But again, it doesn't matter because Musk was wrong about where they were going and claiming that condoms were being sent to Hamas. And of course, that was 100% wrong. Let's see. I might be pan airline emergency joke. Your exits are here, here, and here. Let's see. What's up, Janelle? Let's see. The right is so stupid they believe this. Yeah, they are. They're absolutely dumb. Again, poorly educated. Dude, honestly, kind of fearful to disagree. What? Disagree with what? Because of the rant? Hey, Teresa, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Just kind of scrolly down and see what else is going on. Of course, I scrolled too fast. See, there was a conversation the other day about who ate this or that first. I have to question who thought of sheep intestine condoms first. Josh, it had to be the Scotsman who thought of that, right? Because you push the sheep up to the end of the cliff. If you push the sheep up to the end of the cliff, they fight back. And then if you think, oh, well, that holds things pretty well. Maybe if we disembowel them and we can use them for other purposes. If the sheep aren't getting pregnant, then maybe the women won't get pregnant either. Not realizing that it's the different hole. But anyway.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
Hold on, I have somebody knocking at my door. Kids apparently wanted to know where the Febreze was. I'm guessing somebody made a nasty poop or something. Let's see. Dan Savage says he hasn't impregnated his boyfriend yet, but he isn't going to stop trying. That's one for impeccable. That is pretty funny. Mozambique, not Constantinople. It's Mozambique, not Constantinople. Been a long time gone. Constantinople, a Turkish delight on a moonlit night. Every condom in Constantinople is in Mozambique, not Constantinople. Anyway, so if you have a condom in Constantinople, it'll be waiting there in Mozambique. I don't know. Even all I'm trying. I can't think of it that fast on the fly. Anyway, covered it. Yes, they might be giants. Favorite. What's your favorite They Might Be Giant song? Minimum wage. Yeah. Anyway. Sheep intestine condoms were an excuse for getting caught wearing wool underpants before sheep was done wearing it. Pretty much the same, almost the same point that I was talking about, right? Anyway. Sorry.
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
That's right, Mike. I completely missed the spam over on Twitch. Thank you, Aaron, for covering that and taking care of that. God damn. Anyway. Particle Man meets Triangle Man. They had a fight. Triangle wins. Triangle Man. Is he a dot or is he a speck? Wait, it goes in the water. Does he get wet? Whatever. It's been a long time since I've heard the Particle Man song. Oh, now I smell the Febreze. That's something that somebody sprayed. I don't know what it was, but I now smell it. I guess something happened bad that was stinky, and it's now coming through the entirety of the house. I think they oversprayed it. The same woman who invented sausage, duh. Yes. But anyway, let's go back and let's switch the scene again. So, cat throw. It could have been cat throw, possibly. I mean, we have 3. I just don't know. They're not really that smelly. I'm wondering if one of the dogs messed their kennels again, because they missed that the other day too, and that's something I had to clean up after my horrible day on Monday. So Dan needs to get a groundskeeper Willie saying, "There's nary an animal faster than a greased Scotsman." Is that good enough, or do I have to get groundskeeper Willie to say it himself, or can I just say There's nary an animal faster than a greased Scotsman. So, the difference between an Irishman and a Scotsman is an Irishman talks like he's, a little more subdued, talking like this. And, this is more of a Belfast accent than a Dublin accent. But this is how you sound if you're from Ireland, if you're from around Belfast. But if you're a Scotsman, it sounds like you're harsher and you have to take a wee crap. So, y'all know I'm still here, right? Of course, I'm doing it for your benefit, right? Sorry. Anyway, so again, I actually called into Jeff Carrera's, let's start over again. We're just going to stop the recording and start it again. Earlier today, I called into Jeff Carrera's Ringside Politics show, and I wanted to talk about, various things, including the fact that Donald Trump claimed that, it was Ukraine that was responsible for Vladimir Putin invading Ukraine. What? But I called in and I was like, look, he's absolutely 100% wrong. You have to criticize him on this. But instead of criticizing him on this, instead, he says this.
Trump in Ukraine, I'm glad Trump is pushing back on Ukraine. I'm glad Trump is introducing these ideas like they need elections in Ukraine. This guy Zelensky canceled the elections. And I guess all his, supporters here don't mind that. But I mind that. And we're also missing $100 billion. That's another problem, Doug.
So, instead of talking about the fact that Donald Trump was 100% wrong, again, it as I was just talking about earlier, conservatives, Donald Trump, MAGA types are allowed to be wrong, and they'll make excuses for it. They'll change the subject. They'll pivot. But as soon as we're wrong, they will jump down our throats for being, a tiny bit inaccurate, and then they'll use that to not listen to anything else that we want to say. But let's talk about the election thing for a second. Because, honestly speaking, if a country is in the middle of an invasion, if a country is in the middle of being invaded by another country, and they're actively fighting a war within their shores, within their borders, how are you going to hold an election? How is that possible? And I guarantee you that if Zelensky did hold an election, and the people were like, we're going to support our leader during this time of war, and they reelected Zelensky, he and all these conservative MAGA types would sing a whole different tune. They would be like, well, clearly this election was rigged, because why would you hold an election in the middle of an invasion? You should delay it until the invasion is over. And they would blame it for being rigged. They would claim that Zelensky stole the election by having it in the middle of wartime when it should have waited for peace. But hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. And we all know that that's what he would do. We all know that that's what they would say if Zelensky held the elections. So it's absolutely absurd to try and say and criticize Zelensky. Now, I mean, we had elections here in the United States during World War II, but with the exception of Pearl Harbor, World War II was fought outside of our shores. So it wasn't a risky proposition to go to a polling place and cast a ballot. In Ukraine, it is absolutely a risky proposition to go to a public polling place and cast a ballot. Why would Zelensky give people targets? Why would he give Russia targets that he could fire on? Because we all know conservatives don't like mail-in voting. We all know that conservatives don't like any voting that's not done in person on election day. That's their big thing. So everybody's going to be going to a polling center, and Putin can just be like, ooh, more voters, bomb. Ooh, more voters, bomb. Just bomb, 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 bomb. All the polling places. And then that'll kill more Ukrainians. So it's absolutely mind-numbingly stupid to criticize Zelensky for putting off elections until after their country's being done getting invaded. But they have to change the topic because they don't want to talk about the issue, which is that Donald Trump, by saying these things. Donald Trump by making excuses for Putin. Donald Trump by basically saying that, you know, it is Zelensky's fault for, you know, getting invaded. That's like blaming an abused spouse and asking them what did they do to deserve it. It's like asking a victim of sexual assault, what did you wear that night? That's similar to blaming Zelensky for whatever it is that he thinks that Zelensky was responsible for causing you. Putin's like, you made me attack you. It wasn't my choice. I had to attack you. No. But they can't let the conversation be on that topic because enough reasonable people would be like, well, you know what? You're right. Donald Trump's wrong. Donald Trump's an idiot. Donald Trump's stupid. Donald Trump is Putin's puppet for pushing this pro-Russian propaganda that it was Ukraine's fault that Russia invaded. Anyway, are you a MAGA supporter who has no problem with Donald Trump lying to benefit Vladimir Putin? Do you think that we should criticize Donald Trump for his I'm not going to even say misstating, for his lying about what's going on over in Ukraine? Leave your comments below. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and unless you're a Nazi, have a good day. Whew. Anyway, let's go ahead and we're going to do this. We're going to pop this open a second. We're going to go over here. We're going to flash the call-in number 562-LIBDAN1, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261 is the call-in number. You can call in if you want, if you're Big Hook, if you're not Big Hook. Either way, you can give me a call and let me know your conversation. If you're a conservative and want to have a good, honest, nice debate and not be like the idiots from Monday who were typing the N-word in chat, if you want to have a debate with me, you can call in as well, 562-LIBDAN1. I'm more than happy to have a debate with you. If you think that it is not problematic at all for Donald Trump to, you know, say that Putin was responsible for, you know, that Zelensky was responsible for Putin invading Ukraine. If you think it's reasonable and okay for Donald Trump to call himself king, to have the White House official White House page refer to him as king, if you think that's okay, call in. Let me know. I would love to debate you. 100%. Bring it on. Prove me wrong, as whatchamacallit, what's his face would say. Crowder, Steven Crowder, not the good, not Troy Crowder, not the good Crowder, the bad Crowder. Jeff should call us in and regale us with humorous musings. Me and Jeff can discuss all about how we want to join each other in Uranus. Fudge Factory. Uranus Fudge Factory. Hey, Dean, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Tempted by the fruit of another, coffee in bed. Tempted by the fruit of your mother. Wait, no, sorry, that's the wrong lyrics. Did anyone want to poke at Dan? I think you know who wants to, or I guess it would probably be the other way around. With Impeccable Living wants, well, anyway. He's too little softball throwing up there, right? Let's see. See, there's a James song about every woman I've ever dated. What's the song? Yeah, it's Laid. It's called Laid. It's from James. I was talking about me singing karaoke earlier today because when I was on my Disney cruise, all of the karaoke times were usually had lots of kids there. So, you know, I would get up there. I would do Disney karaoke. I did like the Genie song from You Never Have a Friend Like Me. I did that. Other songs that were more kid-friendly. But there was an 18-plus show. And in that 18-plus karaoke show, again, nobody who was kids were going to be allowed within the show in that particular place. And I did both Why Don't We Get Drunk and Screw by Jimmy Buffett and also James is Laid. So... See, Jeff Curry, we're going to do a video from Uranus at some point. Yes, we do. Live from Uranus, Liberal Dan and Jeff for some spicy conversation. Jeff Curry. We would need to have Kimchi join us there as well, because Kimchi joining us would just add to the spiciness. I didn't even have to hear Big Hook's because I know the area code. What's going on, Big Hook?
It is what it is. I seem to be the one that makes the most noise and makes the most sense, I guess. I'm not quite sure if that's true or not, but it seems to be what ends up happening.
What, you're saying that I make the most noise and the most sense? Is that what you said, or that you do?
I think we both do.
There you go. Perfect answer. That's the perfect answer.
I won't share the credit or the blame.
There you go.
So,
now I was about to regale a little bit of James's Laid on the show with an acoustic version, I guess, so to speak, but we'll hold off till after your phone call. So
yeah, what do you think about what's been happening with Ukraine lately? Because I mean, Trump has gone out of his way to make it clear that he is siding with Putin. And I mean, the European Union is basically not going to respect that meeting in Saudi Arabia.
No.
And Texas Paul brought on a whole bunch of ideas, and he said before it's like Neville Chamberlain, where he's like, "Oh yeah, we just want to return to business as usual and keep the trade routes open and whatnot, and do what needs to be done." And then I mean, Europe. I think Texas Paul. I'm not exactly certain this is what he was suggesting, but he was saying that perhaps the Europeans are making a side deal same as what Trump did, which was to say, we would like a portion of the assets for keeping you capable of defending yourselves against Russia until this whole affair is said, done, and over with, where the Russia is incapable of continuing on the war front any longer.
I mean, I do think it's reasonable to suggest that if we were actually going to defend, I mean, Donald Trump's not going to help Ukraine defend itself. I mean, we all know that because Donald Trump is beholden to Vladimir Putin. I've also, I mean, on this podcast and when I've called into the conservative talk shows that I sometimes call into, I have basically called him Donald Neville Chamberlain Trump. I have basically said that Donald Trump is here to appease Vladimir Putin. He is not going to take the side of Ukraine. He is going to take the side of our enemy, of Vladimir Putin and Russia, because he is beholden to Putin, and he will absolutely be the appeaser in chief. I've used those words as well previously. So yeah, I'm absolutely agree with Texas Paul in the comparisons between Donald Trump and Neville Chamberlain, 100%. It just goes to show you that two smart creators can come up with their own it's the same thing uniquely and independently of each other. So but yeah, it's as soon as Trump won, I was like, Ukraine's screwed, and Donald Trump is going to do whatever he can to get Putin whatever Putin wants. Because again, he's beholden to Vladimir Putin. He worships Putin. He loves dictators like Putin. He wants to be dictator in day one. He wants to have military parades in his honor. We saw that from the first term that he wanted to try and pull that BS. So, it's a scary time. And one of the reasons I think that when we had the whole situation where Israel shared information with Trump then shared it with Russia then shared it would then share it with Iran could then share it with Hamas, which then gave Hamas the ability to be able to circumvent Israeli counterterrorism measures to be able to attack the Israelis on 10/7. And the reason that Putin would want to have that happen is because as long as you have the issues going on in the Middle East, like between Hamas and Israel, the world is going to take their eyes off of what's happening in Ukraine, because I mean, you have a whole bunch of people on the planet who don't like Jews and will take that anti-Semitism and assign it to Israel, even though you can be Jewish and be against the actions of Israel, i.e. me and other people like me. But again, Putin loves the fact that more attention is being paid to Israel and Hamas than it is being spent to him and Putin's actions, illegal actions in Ukraine. And then you have, so that's probably one of several reasons why Donald Trump, after Biden got his deal done for releasing hostages at this time and that time or whatever, it's probably why Trump went ahead and stirred up the hornet's nest again by doing his supposed Gaza plan. Because A, he's greedy and he wants to make money off of it, but B, it helps Putin as well. It helps by creating that, stirring up the hornet's nest over there. It's going to make people less likely to pay attention to the issues between Ukraine and Russia, because most people can't handle multiple things at the same time. Impeccable Living might be a counterexample of that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well, because the other thing is that you realize that if Trump manages to concede to Putin and Putin gets what he wants and he no longer has to engage with Ukraine, he can then go back to what he likes to do, which is to plunder Africa. Yep. and steal all their resources. And this is the thing. This has been an opportunity for the European nations to step in and make forays into those countries and help with certain things and whatnot. And the fact that we have food and drugs and everything sitting on a port rotting there, helping absolutely no one, and then Trump, according to Rachel Maddow last night, is going to destroy 500 million COVID tests for no ungodly reason, other than
I know the reason. I've already said the reason. We talked about that earlier on the show. I didn't talk about that specifically, but the reason Donald Trump would want to get rid of COVID tests is because he will say that if you have more tests, you have more cases, which is stupid because the cases already exist regardless of whether or not you test for them. However, the more the less we're able to see how many positive cases of COVID that we have, the better it looks for him when it comes to the optics, so to speak. So that's exactly why Donald Trump would try and get rid of as many tests as possible, because he wants fewer people to know or fewer people shown as having COVID, regardless of whether or not they actually are positive or not. So,
well, this brings about the other point, which is as Texas Paul was saying. He says we can't resort to violence, because the thing is then we give him the ability to impose martial law and to crack down on people right, left, and center, and it just feeds the maggots' desires to take matters into their own hands.
They don't need it. They don't need any more. Look at January 6th. They don't need any more encouragement to take matters in their own hands. But no, I agree that us as citizens or the people, the populace ourselves cannot take up arms against the government, because if we do, that will give Trump the excuse. Again, as you're right, to declare martial law. What we need to do is if the case can be made successfully to enough people who are the higher ups in the military that Donald Trump is acting like a traitor. We all know that he is, but if the case is made to the people in the military, the people who have sworn to protect, and sworn to making an oath to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump, we have to hope that something happens like what happened in Egypt, that the military will step in and say, you know what, this is too much, you've gone too far, we need to remove you from power until we can have another set of elections to replace you with somebody who is, not somebody who's going to sell out our country to Russia, to China, to North Korea, to all these other people who,
That's a question I had rolling around in my head. If the military was to intervene and remove Donald Trump from power, could there be another election? I
think we would probably be in a constitutional crisis, because there's nothing in the Constitution specifically that enables that. Technically, if Donald Trump himself is removed from power, it would have to basically be J.D. Vance that would take over, but that's not going to be any better. And then, of course, if J.D. Vance is also removed from power, then you have Speaker Mike Johnson, who then becomes the president. That's not going to be any better. So then at what point, what do you do? It would be basically, they would have to take an action to which we have no official remedy for. Like they would basically have to be the ones imposing martial law. They would have to be the ones that are basically saying we're going to run this temporarily until we have the opportunity to have a whole nother election, and then you'd have to deal with the consequences of what happens with all those armed MAGA types who now are going to be pissed off that the military went after their beloved Trump. And also, what would then happen? How many people in the military are going to be, not be traitors to their own country and instead back Donald Trump instead of backing, the United States of America and the citizens thereof? So.
Well, this is what I was saying last time. Is I think if this election in 2 years, or even in the special election, becomes a non-starter and we end up being stuck with him, people are going to start thinking, I think it's time for a divorce. We need to separate the states. Our philosophies are incompatible. Our value sets are incompatible. You live your life your way and we'll live our life our way. And, you wanted to have a revolution, and you wanted to be the Tea Party and dump everything in the harbor, and you say, oh, no representation without tax, or no taxation without representation. I mean, the fact of the matter is they don't pay hardly anything in taxes already. So I mean, this is what gets me. They don't really deserve a bigger say in how the country is run, because the Democratic outnumber them roughly, or people with democratic values outnumber them by close to 80 million or something like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. The rule, it's a fixed game where everything plays in their favor, and like I said, I don't know. Maybe you guys have to redraw everything up again. The Constitution, all the laws on the books.
That is something that has crossed my mind. That could be a possibility. That the only way that this happens is everything crumbles, everything just becomes nothing. We dissolve the United States and we redraw the state maps. We redraw the Constitution. We redraw what's going on. We determine what's going to be an equitable amount of actions that could be done. We move people to the areas that they wish to be in, and we form two countries, whatever. That would be an extreme thing. There's maybe a less extreme thing the less extreme thing would be to require true bipartisanship. It would require enough Republican politicians to be like, you know what, this has gone too far. Donald Trump has gone too far. We are going to impeach him and Vance, and we're going to start over with a new president, if it be Mike Johnson, and then hope that Mike Johnson is somehow somewhat better than Trump and Vance. Am I holding my breath that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. I have no faith to believe that these people who are in the Republican Party, the elected officials of the Republican Party, are going to do anything that will benefit anything other than themselves, or that they will not do anything to disprove their loyalty to Trump. I mean, here you have Bill Cassidy, the senator of Louisiana, who actually voted to convict Donald Trump on the articles of impeachment for his January 6th activities. And he was one of a few, but even he was like, bent the knee, kissed the ring, by doing things like believing the promises that he was given by Trump and RFK Jr. as the conservatives are now calling him, RFKJ, because that's their new cute thing. They're going to call him RFKJ instead of using Jr. It's weird and silly, but he's trying to, because he's up for re-election next year, and he's trying to prove to the insane MAGA sillies in this state, and I don't know, sillies might be too nice of a word because they're mostly idiots, and they're dangerous. He's going to have to try and convince them to vote for him, when in reality there are other conservatives who have not voted for Donald Trump on articles of impeachment to remove him from office, or to prevent him from being able to run for office again, who these MAGA types are going to trust more. So I don't know.
Yeah, but my problem is that it's not a question of the lesser of the two evils, because they're all the same evil. They're just by different names. And then the ones that are even more extreme than the ones that are currently holding Congress and whatnot are even worse, because they believe that we should, blow everything up, and that we should become something totally different from a democracy. Putt guy down there in Texas who makes all the noise and is a regular on Fox News all the time, running his mouth. I mean, the only thing that he did say truthfully was, we haven't passed anything that I can go back to my constituents and say, look at what we did.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing redeemable about any of them. They all fold when it comes to bad practices, and it's quite evident that they are not the ones coming up with the legislation. It's their backers. It's the billionaires. It's the millionaires who give them money. It is not their constituents. Because their constituents aren't any better off. In fact, they're worse off.
But if he wants to be, if he actually was smart, which is a stretch for a Republican politician, if he was smart, he'd realize that all he has to do to go back to his citizenry, to convince them to vote for him again, is just to say, I've had the back of Donald Trump, and here's my endorsement of Trump, by Trump, of me, to be reelected, and all the MAGA folks will be like, okay. They won't care that nothing has actually been passed, because, while they have huge problems with everybody else's executive orders, they have no problem with Donald Trump ruling by executive order. They're not going to. They're applauding like screaming idiots over everything that Donald Trump has been doing via executive order. So,
well, like I said, you guys are really in the crosshairs, because internationally you've got Trump willing to give up Ukraine to Russia. You've got him about ready possibly to abolish the FDIC, which would mean that the rich can make a run on the banks and bankrupt the rest of you all.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a murder plot of democracy in America. And it's happening right in front of you, and it's like watching a slow motion car crash occur, And the question is will the courts and protests in the streets and at the capitals be enough to change things? Because I don't know. I hate to say it. I get the point where it's like, yeah, we can't go to violence, but the problem is that what else do we threaten these Republicans with other than, we don't like what you do on our behalf?
Right. And here's the other thing. Here's the hypocrisy
they don't care
of it all.
already.
What I was talking about earlier, too, applies here. We, the left, can't resort to violence because we know that Donald Trump would totally abuse his authority, go to martial law, and then use that as an excuse to get rid of political rivals, to shut down free speech, to do whatever it is that he wanted to do that they like to claim that we do. But they can commit acts of violence, but if Biden were to enact martial law to stop the people from committing acts of political violence, he wasn't president at the time when January 6th happened, but still, if Biden would have done that, it would have been the most horrible thing ever. How dare he do that? How dare he be such a despot dictator while they would still cheer for Trump to do it? Meanwhile, you and I, neither of us want to see martial law take place from anybody, because we are consistent and hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite, not a leftist one. So
yeah, but this is the problem, though. They keep accusing us of using dirty tactics and being violent and corrupting whatever, and yet we're supposed to stand there and continuously keep getting poked in the ribs. Yep. And go, and and hold our breath and wait for, like waiting for a hero to come along. I mean, we had Barack, but I mean, Barack served his 2 terms. I mean, and I don't know. I don't think Gavin Newsom is the answer necessarily either, because he has been proven to go along with corporate interests.
Well, and here's the thing though, is that what was I thinking about? Oh, they want, the conservatives have talked about maybe bringing back the idea that somebody could, eliminating the term limit on the presidency, because they want Donald Trump to be able to run for a 3rd term. Even though, I mean, how old will he be at that point? But I'm just like, fine, give it. I will gladly take that, because we will draft President Obama to run for a 3rd term, and President Obama, I absolutely believe, would 100% kick Donald Trump's ass, because he'll have the one main thing going for him that the 2 previous people who lost Donald Trump didn't have going for him. He's a man and not a woman. And while I voted for Hillary Clinton, I voted for Kamala Harris, I also voted for Joe Biden, I don't like to, take actions that I believe are sexist, but we have a large enough portion of the society who looked at women running for the office and be like, you know what, Trump's the better person. And I'm like, no. But again, sexism and in Vice President Harris's case, sexism and racism won the day. But I think even with President Obama, I think that you'd eliminate the sexism part, and I think that would be enough for him to completely overturn, to completely just annihilate Trump at the polls, because people would come out to support him. Again, not the, but again, it's not going to happen, because I don't see that constitutional amendment passing, especially if the conservatives think, well, if we get Trump, they get Obama, and we're screwed. They probably would be more likely to just support Trump manufacturing something to create martial law, because again, I tried searching for this sort of thing as something that happened maybe in history to try and find other examples of it, but my search foo was weak. But no, I am convinced that Donald Trump and the Trump administration and Elon Musk and anybody else are going to be leaking fake information to us of things that they're not doing, to have the people on the left start reporting all the stuff and getting us all angry, and then they can use that as example to discredit the people on the left and or take whatever actions they feel is necessary, as it pertains to him keeping his, exactly. So I have an itch, but it's a big concern, because that's why, again, we have to be hyper careful, because if there was fake information being leaked from like a Biden administration and conservatives reported on it, they would just be like, oh, that's just conservatives being conservatives. Don't pay them no mind. But if we do it, it's the end of the world. So it's a glaring double standard.
I'm convinced that the Democrats have to find a spokesperson, put them before the camera every single day, and tell the truth of what's going on in America, and be the news authoritarians, or not authoritarians, but the news authority as to what the truth is, and put it out there and say, if you want the truth, come here and watch it, because we won't lie to you, unlike Donald Trump and the Republicans, because they don't have your interest at heart any longer. Oh. And this brings about another thing, which is, I wonder what it's white women Republicans. The question is, are they more racist, or are they more classism, where they figure that if they were to vote Democratic versus their husband's vote, do they fear losing what they already have? I mean,
I think it's some column A and some column B.
Or do they fear violence from their husbands?
Well, I mean, they may very well fear violence from their husbands, but I think there's a little bit of column A in that. I think there is aspects of racism there. I do think with that it also comes with some classism. I think those are kind of intertwined in a lot of areas, not in every area, but in a lot of areas that they are. But I also think that there's not just internalized misogyny, because there are absolutely Republican women who will repeat horrible misogynistic things and as true. You have your Ann Coulters who thought it would be better if women never got the right to vote, that sort of stuff. But there's also the idea that many conservatives have, and some of them are finding out. They're in the find out phase now. Is many conservatives are like, I don't think this is going to affect me. So therefore, even if I disagree with it, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump and vote for Republicans because if any of these bad things happen, they're not going to harm me. Like, if they're upper class white women and they happen to have deal, if they or one of their children happen to have a pregnancy that's unwanted, undesirable, like the example I always love to use is, what happens if a racist conservative parent has a child who got impregnated by somebody who happened to be a black guy? Is their pro-life going to win out? No, it's not going to win out. The racism is going to win out, and they're going to fly them out to a left state like California or New York or whatever, any other state where abortion is legal. They'll get it taken care of, and then they'll come back and they'll continue to march at the abortion clinics trying to stop abortions from taking place, even though they will get them for themselves because they don't think their rules apply to them. So I think it's a combination of all these things that keep these white Republican women continuing to vote for these Republican men, for the MAGA types, for against their best interests, because they don't think it's against their best interests because they don't think they're ever going to be harmed by it. So,
well, that's what's weird about this, because this feels like a philosophical debate rather than a political one. And the fact of the matter is these guys don't apply any logic, and hypocrisy is, what they live by. I mean, I think as well, perhaps the white Republican women are going, I'm just waiting till the day that he croaks and everything is left to me. And then I can live my life in peace and do what I really want to do, which is, be financially independent with nobody to answer to.
Yeah, well,
and I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's the case. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. I don't know, but like I said last time, none of this makes any sense to me anymore because in a logical world, none of this would be occurring. I mean, there's more than enough to go around for everybody to have what they need, but we choose to play this game of winners and losers and haves and have-nots. And,
Hold on. Lisa in the chat goes, that's a little sexist. I want to say that, just I guess to your defense a little bit, which is that I think you're commenting on the internalized misogyny that these Republican women have, in that they're willing to vote against their best interests in order to survive their, I guess, whatever abuses they might be handling at the hands of their husbands, so they can just, I guess, whatever, make it through the day or whatever. And I don't necessarily think that you're intending to suggest that that they have nefarious means, but there's a lot of these women are like the wives in like The Handmaid's Tale or whatever. A lot of these people, there's like they'll nod and nod their heads and agree and be the good wife because they're afraid to not be the good wife. Because they're afraid of what might happen if they oppose their husband. I mean, in The Handmaid's Tale itself, you had the woman who created the whole idea of handmaidens and all that other stuff, and she gets crapped on by the male-dominated society, even though she's the one that gave them the idea in the first place. So, and you see not just the struggle of the handmaids and the other people who are oppressed and marginalized in that culture, in that in that series, but you also end up seeing how even the people who are in the upper class fear their husbands, and that's unfortunately, like, my wife was going to watch Handmaid's Tale with me, but she couldn't because she basically was like, it's too real. It's too real what's going on. It's too close to what's happening in reality.
Yeah.
That's
what Stephanie Miller says as well. She says she can't watch it because she thinks it's the dystopian future that's already been handed to her. I mean, it's there's so many people that are in such a state of hurt or on the verge of collapse, financially as well as within a family unit, where I mean, everyone is unhappy because their needs aren't being met. I mean,
Kimchi,
and like
wait,
I
hold on.
said, there's
Kimchi in chat says men are culturally sexist until educated elsewise. I'm like, I 100% agree with that point, Kimchi. I mean, there are definitely times where I can look back at certain things that I held in the past where it was like, you know what, if I didn't get educated on this issue, you know, I might very well still hold those other beliefs that I previously held. And you know, you have to want to be better, which unfortunately a lot of guys, you know, who are not listening to Liberal Dan Radio Talk from Left, That's Right, refuse to actually do that self-reflection and be better people. So,
well, I'll give you an example, and I mean, this is my own experience. I mean, I grew up as an abused child through, I mean, basically my mother physically beat me, and then eventually when she was brought to the attention of child services, she then emotionally basically took me down. And
I'm sorry about that.
You know, and the thing is that I'm the generation that changed that within my own generation, because I refuse to bring up my child in the same way. And you know, and she, you know, and she is even through the society that she lives in, is getting fucked up via all the issues that aren't being, you know, addressed within society itself. And I mean, if it isn't from one end, from your family life, it's from society life challenges that come your way, whether it be I don't have what's necessary to make me happy, to what's necessary to make me emotionally happy, what's necessary to educate me as to how to get out of the hole I've gotten into. It's a whole, like I said, I hate to be the gloom and doom, man. I can only tell you from my own experience where I come from and where I see the way to get out of the shadows and to go towards the light, and to offer that to everybody else. And you know, I keep harping, the Scandinavian model is the answer. Everybody gets what they want. Everybody pays high taxes. Everybody knows what's coming to them. Everybody gets to live their best life. And that's the end of the story. None of this have-nots bullshit where I have all the money, therefore I'm smarter than everybody else. It's like, no, you aren't.
Right.
It just means you're more criminally you know, capable of taking advantage of other people. That's all it is.
Yeah, they're the dragons that are hoarding all the gold. They you know, it's you know, I don't necessarily. Ooh, just got cat butt in my face. I don't necessarily care. Ooh, she curled up on my shoulder. Look at that. That never happens. That's crazy. Anyway, so you know, I don't necessarily worry about the fact that there are haves, as long I wouldn't care if there were haves if there were no have-nots. Like I wouldn't care if, you know, somebody wants to have like several airplanes or whatever and lots of cars and whatever, big houses. I wouldn't care about that as long as people weren't starving. I wouldn't care about that as long as people, you know, had their basic needs met and were able to, you know, live, you know, productive lives without, you know, having to worry about what happens from, you know, if I don't have a job tomorrow, what's going to happen to me and my family, you know, that sort of thing. If we fix that issue, then yeah, I don't give a crap if people live means that are much greater than what they ever need. But until that happens, I'm going to keep harping on, you know, the system that we have, because we're failing to support a whole bunch of people who, you know, need our help and need our support. And like when it comes to, like you were talking about, like, you know, trying to break cycles, you know, I too have talked about the abuse that I suffered at the hands of my mom's adoptive dad on my show previously, and I'm also trying to, you know, not perpetuate the cycle and not making sure that my kids understand that those sort of things should never happen to them, and to understand consent, to understand body autonomy, to understand that, you know, issues of consent are not just don't touch other people when they don't want to be touched, and only touch people who want to be touched, but also include things like, you know, don't let people shouldn't be allowed to touch you if you don't want them to touch you either. Like, you don't have to hug all your relatives if you don't want to hug them. You can go separate yourself from the family if you feel you need a break. If you need to do all that stuff, that's fine. But and that's one of the reasons why I haven't done many of these videos recently. But the unraveling toxic masculinity thread that I have, the series of videos, where basically I am trying to combat those horrible things that a lot of these conservative guys are trying to push into the quote manosphere, simply because of the fact that it's not good, and more people like us need to help amplify what women are saying, what other oppressed minorities are saying, and we also need to fight against the guys who perpetuate this overall sexism that takes place in our society, and I want to set that example for my sons so that when they grow up they can do the same thing with theirs. So,
well, the question is it toxic masculinity or is it toxic humanity? Because that's the problem. We have put ourselves into these castes of haves and have-nots, those who are deserving and those who are not, and we really seem to be in a bad state where, with education, yes, we could have far less people on this planet who wouldn't be suffering, but, the human desire to procreate and to leave something of themselves on the planet that will survive after them is there, and but the problem is we don't have governments that supply people with the means to make responsible decisions,
right,
and to do to have the basic the most basic needs met, whether it be clean drinking water, a house over your head, access to electricity, law and order within societies that protects them so that way other people can't take advantage of them. We don't understand that a lot of the world does not have that. And, the fact that Republicans go around and say, oh, we shouldn't be spending all this money on USAID,
right,
and they believe that it's 20 to 30% of the budget is being spent on that, and it's like, it's less than fucking 1%.
Yep.
It's less than 1%. And you're going to let millions upon millions of people die because you believe in a lie.
Yep.
And you're a selfish
You just said
asshole.
that. You just said that at the exact same time that Impeccable Living was like, America has a terrible standard of living. America is a lie. Like, you typed that in. You said that while he typed it at the exact same time. So yeah, and I do want to say, Impeccable Living, I agree with you on the fact that if you, with as it stands now, if you have a yacht, you should be forced to build a school. My thing is, I'm saying that I'm not going to stop worrying about the people who are hoarding wealth until we get to a point in our society where we don't have to worry about such things. Like, if we don't have to worry about schools being built, a quality education, and food at the table, and if we don't make people use their make a wish to pay off the student lunch debts of their classmates, all of the things that exist now in our dystopian hellscape society, until that happens, I'm going to absolutely, harp on the rich. Say we need to tax the rich. Maybe follow what Aerosmith says and eat the rich. That's only one thing they're really good for.
Well, let me put it to you this way. Here's another thing. Trump wants to eliminate the pennies. Now, what's going to be put in the UNICEF boxes now?
Right.
Right?
Are people going to drop a nickel? Are people going to drop $1? Now, a lot of people do make contributions electronically now anyway, which is fine. But again, there's nothing that Donald Trump does that I'm gonna sit there and go, what? And I'm not gonna immediately go, what's his game plan with this? What's his con with this? What's his scam with this? How is he going to try and enrich himself and also in the process screw over the working man with this plan that he's going to do? And usually you'll find the answer, because that's always what's behind the con man's game, is that he's always looking for the next con. So
yeah, exactly. Like I said, there's a lot of people that are on the edge and are looking at this world and thinking, what's the point?
Right.
And the thing is that we shouldn't be there. We keep saying that America is the greatest country and the richest country in the world. And it's like, no, you aren't. The only reason that the rest of the world has put up with the United States has been because when something starts to go really bad in the rest of the world, the United States steps in with the military and tries to make a correction.
Mm-hmm.
And outside of that, most people go, you guys are crazy motherfuckers. You live an unreasonable life.
Right.
You don't care about anybody. You talk a big piece, but your actions don't show up. You know, and what little you do is just window dressing,
right,
to shield you from all the other crap and crimes that you perpetrate within your own society and across the world. You know, I mean, I don't know. It's I agree. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this to shame any of you guys in the chat or anything like that. Okay, I think most of you are on the same plane of reality as I am. You see a lot of horrible things happening. Unfortunately, you're incapable of stepping in and fixing the problem either.
Right.
Just like me. I feel awful about it. I give when I can. I do what I can. I speak up when I can, but beyond that, I can't really, as an individual, make an impact. So the answer is that we all step in and make our voices heard with the vote, which is what Texas Paul's message was this morning.
Yeah.
Was we either step up to the plate and we all vote Democrat, or we lose what we currently have, and we can't do some self-reflection and fix the things that we've fucked up and make a better life for everyone. You know, I mean, at least that's what I took away from what Texas Paul had to say this morning.
And I agree.
And you know,
let me go ahead and let you go, because I do want to address some of the couple of things that are in the chat, including some of the fun things in the chat. But again, you know, lots of good words for everybody to think of. Soon we might have to make this the Liberal Dan Radio and Big Hook Hour, which is fine. I'm more than happy to have you on as an hour guest every week. That's wonderful. You add a lot to the show, and you gave me a lot of time to do some cat snuggling while you were talking too.
Well, you're my brother from another mother, as they say.
Yes.
And we're, you know, unfortunately, we live in different systems where I see what you guys lack and that I have, and I'm shaking my head going, God almighty, you guys are stupid. You haven't figured this out after fucking 50 years of struggling under the yoke of Republicans? I mean... Anyway, take care of Dan and all you in the chat. I hope I haven't offended anyone horribly. I just point out what I see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, take care.
You have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.
All right, that was Big Hook for a good 42 minutes of Big Hook, which is awesome. You know, I definitely like hearing Big Hook for a good long time. Oh... Yes, you've been listening to Big Hook, Big Hook. Yes, that's who was our just caller on there, Impeccable Living. You're still leave the phone lines open, 562-LIBDAN1, 562-542-3261. Let's see. We're talking about in chat, the topic came up of how many... And if you saw the phone or the flash in my face, I had to take a selfie of me and Rose, because I could not believe that she actually laid down and snuggled with me for minutes, let alone just 1 minute. But yeah, let's see. With concerts, we'll get to the concerts in a second. I want to make sure to go back. I think there's some other points that I wanted to make. Kimchi says the first time you use the term female body count or discernment, hopefully you're not counting that against me because I'm quoting you. I know you're misogynistic and red-pilled by incels. Loneliness isn't the problem, it's the solution. Exactly. You know, it's... Yeah. Although I do have a funny comment about body count. It was like, body count shouldn't matter unless your own personal body count is your kink, then go ahead and count away my little naughty little creature. But if your own personal body count isn't your kink, then body count is irrelevant. The idea that one person sleeping with one person 1,000 times is somehow not going to be different than, you know, sleeping with 5 people 200 times a piece, or yada yada yada. It's silliness, and it's slut shaming, and it's not something here that us at Liberal Dan Radio talk about. The other problem with body count, though, is that you know, a lot of times, you know, men in these incel MGTOW red pill types, and we've talked about body count issues, and the reason why these incel, and this is a bunch of those, several of those videos in my Unraveling Toxic Masculinity playlist. So now I have Rose's hair all over my face. The reason why these men worry about the purity or whatever, so-called purity of the women that they want to date and their so-called body count is not just because they want to, you know, hope that they're, quote, pure, whatever it is. But, you know, at the end of the day, they just know that they're not bringing anything good in the bedroom, and if they're not going to bring anything good in the bedroom, they need to make sure that the people they're in the bedroom with are not going to know how much better it can be, and as such leave them. Because why would you stay if the person is going to A, treat you as horribly as these incel types are going to treat you, and also not give you the toe curling orgasms that you might want or need as from your lover. So yeah, no, that's one of the reasons why body count is BS. But the body count is also flipped around and part of toxic masculinity, because I, you know, for a long time I did keep track of my, you know, body count. Why? Because men and toxic masculinity and patriarchal standards made me believe that I was more of a man if I had a higher number of people with whom I've slept with. That somehow justified, made me more of a valuable person because I was able to convince more people to get naked with me. So yeah, it's BS when it's used for purity, to chastise and shun women for choosing to have multiple sex partners. But it's also, horrible for the men who are made to feel like they need to go out and sleep with more people than maybe they might want, or maybe maybe they're just convinced that if they don't do that, then they're going to be seen as lesser, and then they're shamed for doing that too. So. I mean, I already suggested Impeccable Living that you might be adept at taking more than one thing at the same time. Hey, P-Dubs, good to see you. I didn't see you in the chat. But yeah, I think I already suggested that was a possibility. I think we all know. I think you mentioned before that you've been spit roasted before. Happens to the best people, right? Yeah, exactly, Kimchi. They don't want you to know that they suck in bed. Exactly. Lisa Green, sexual insecurity in men, a large factor in right-wing radicalization. Exactly. Yeah, because again, and these are the guys that, if you find, I wish I could find the picture real quick. Let me do a Google search real quick. Let's see if I can find this. No, it's not there. Exit. See if I can find it. There we go. Open image in new tab. Yeah. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who would not be able to find their exit in this building, and they would have to burn to death in a fire because they would be incapable of finding the stairway right here. but there's also no reason, you know. A lot of times when I'm in a lot of the Facebook groups that I'm in, and I will you know, be talking about, you know, the inability or the ineptitude of certain men to not be able to please their partners and find the clitoris, as so to speak. I use the Gabriel Iglesias animated GIF where he's in a chair and he stands up and he's like, you know, it's right here. Like, it's literally right there. It's very easy to find. There's no excuse for you to not be able to find it. It's right there. If I ever do get a Liberal Dan Radio or Liberal Dan After Dark channel up and running and going, it would probably have to be justified by as being like paid content, or maybe I would do it as part of my Patreon at first, Patreon. I don't know until that happened, but maybe I'll tell the story as to my unfair advantage in certain things, but I'm not going to do that on this show right now. Nope. See, I stopped having sex everywhere because the Yelp reviews were not kind. 1 star, would never do again. Let's see, wait. What terms... What, you don't know spit roast? See, that's why I need to have Liberal Dan After Dark, so I can explain the terms to everybody. So... anyway, but yeah, I think we would have to save your spit roasting stories until for Liberal Dan After Dark, though, when we discuss things like, you know, sexual activity, sexual health, all that sort of stuff. That's my idea. Like, it wouldn't just be a dirty channel where we just talk about dirty things, but it would also be a channel where we can have frank conversations about like sex and sexual health and stuff like that, and not have to worry about dinging this channel for content warning. Because while YouTube is not as bad as TikTok, because I'm like, on TikTok you have to use words like grape, and instead of calling somebody a pedo, you have to call them a PDF file. Those sort of things. Like, TikTok's ridiculous. You can't have adult, grown, you know, honest conversations about serious issues like sexual assault and sexual violence and rape and everything like that. You can't have those conversations on TikTok without having to use, you know, different words to make sure that the censors don't nab you for trying to say words that are going to trigger the filters or what have you. YouTube's not that bad, but I still don't want to risk it. So I'm trying this new thing. I really get really close to somebody in bed, look up and then say, tell me a story from when I was a baby. Oh, God. So you like older guys? Is that right? Is that what you're saying? Let's surrender. One of my best times is up against a tree under a hiking overpass. Adults above us. I had to let George Takei do the last part of that one. So, I have tons of great stories, war stories, if you will, from that. But anyway, previous point, getting back to what I was saying, is that there are definitely, I definitely like to use this channel to talk to counter the incel, MGTOW, red pill type folks, and as such, although I do have to, I'm not exactly. Let's see. I really have not yet heard the term discernment used in the incel, red pill, MGTOW ways. So I'm going to have to look that up, and maybe you've just encouraged me to go try and find some additional videos on such topics so that I can do another unraveling toxic masculinity video on such things, because maybe I just didn't realize that I heard it, but it never really stood out to me as one of their shitty trigger words. So, but to get back to one of the other topics we were talking about, Uranus Gone Wild. Yes, if I ever do Liberal Dan Radio After Dark, I'm going to have to convince the town of Uranus or the people who own the Uranus thing to let me do a live remote from their store. Like, Liberal Dan, we're doing a sexual health podcast, and we're doing it from Uranus. So yeah, that would be amazing. I'd get to have Jeff live on the show too, right? So I still think Ted Cruz goes to Cancun because Texas had restrictions on the number of dildos one can possess. Yeah, P-dubs. Dr. Ruth Westheimer, you must have good sex. But yeah, So yeah, don't call her Ruth the sex therapist. It's Dr. Ruth. She didn't go 6 years to sex therapy doctor school to be called Ruth. It's Dr. Ruth. But yeah, and someone says Mike Pence might hear you. Hell, you don't want to have Mike Johnson hear you, because Mike Johnson, the speaker, he shares an app with his son so they can make sure to monitor each other's porn activity. Ugh. I don't want to do that with any of my kids. That's just gross. What was it? But earlier, people were talking about movies, and let's see, blah 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 blah, movies, or not movies. We're talking about concerts and favorite concerts that you've been with, and it's kind of hard for me to pick just one concert that I've been to. Lisa Green, Mike Johnson is watching you wank. I hope he doesn't watch what I'm watching when I'm doing it. Oh, wait, hold on. Yes. But yeah. So I'm extremely shy and terrible at chat ups. I'm happy enough. My last partner passed away from DV, is effed up. The asshole also passed away. So I'm sorry to hear that too. Progressively independent. My parents never taught me about this stuff. That's one of the good things. When my parents, even when my parents were still together and I was very young, they had like 3 books. It was a series of books. One of them was called like a man's or like a man's body, a woman's body, and a child's body, whatever. And like the one talked about specifically like, women's health. One of them talked about men's health. One of them talked about child development, and kind of it talked about both or all genders, I guess. It was, using kindergarten cop biology, but I was a kid when I was reading the book. So, but they had no problem with me reading these books, finding information from these books. I'd sit there and read these books all the time to learn more about my body, to learn about, the bodies of other people. And that's not the thing that made me into a pervert. But they thought it was very important for me to not be sheltered from such things, to know, the actual clinical terms of parts, to know the actual, how things work, how human development works, how pregnancy works, how, my body might look, different as I age. And I think it's probably one of the reasons that I have an open mind about certain things, and why I don't view, anything, about the human body in general as taboo, let alone sexual health, sexual development. But then again, also, I think I was raised right in many circumstances. Like, I remember being in 7th grade in a parochial school at a Hebrew day school, and we learned about sexual health. We had classes and we talked about condoms, we talked about STIs, we talked about all the different ways that one protects yourself, and learning about HIV/AIDS, and all the other things like Kaposi's sarcoma that you could deal with if you happen to come down with HIV. Those sorts of things were taught at when I was in 7th grade. Nowadays, you tell that to a MAGA conservative that they're teaching that to your kid in 7th grade, and they would blow a gasket. So, Lisa, I was raised Catholic, so no sex ed at all. I guess maybe, then again, like in Judaism, under Judaism, it's considered it's not considered a sin for the husband to please his wife, in the oral way, so to speak. That is part of Jewish tradition. It actually makes it more likely that your partner will conceive, and as such, it's considered a mitzvah almost. It's considered something that's good and that should done. And in the Jewish religion, one valid reason for getting a divorce is if the husband won't sexually satisfy his wife. So, hooray for Jews. Maybe that's one of the reasons why people are so anti-Semitic, because they don't want those thoughts being pervasive into the entire society. They don't want us to be able to teach people like, oh, it is a good reason to divorce your spouse if he won't sexually pleasure you. Like, Judaism teaches that. Not the other, the other main religions don't. Absolutely. So, Lisa, I had a library card and did my own research. And in that wasn't in the bad way, unlike the conservatives nowadays who do their own research and then reject, science and scientific articles or whatever. So, let's see, I guess I'll be honest, a Sega Mega Drive always took priority over girls and acid beer. Again, I had an unhealthy, the thing I did look that it was unhealthy when it came to the relationships or whatever, is that I did, again, because of maybe a little bit of my abuse, maybe a little bit because of the fact that I was always felt like I was, really overweight, even though back at the time I wasn't. Like, if I showed you a picture of myself when I was in high school, I don't know if I've shown you that picture yet. Let me dig up that picture, because it's me as a college senior, and I'm an 18-year-old YouTube, so you can't complain about the fact that I'm showing a picture of a child, because at this point I'm still an adult. But let me pull this picture up real quick just to show you how, let's see, search Facebook, do that, posts, there, it's the first one that came up. Perfect. Open image in new tab. There we go. So here is me as a high school senior. That's what I looked like as a high school senior. I know Impeccable Living is probably going to be thirsty about this now or whatever. Probably make it a little bigger or whatever. That's what I looked like when I was a senior, 18 years old in high school. I thought I was fat then. I don't know if I included this part in my very special episode talking about life as an obese person in this country. I may very well have. I don't remember including that part because I included a lot of stuff. I thought I was fat here. I would love to be this right here. I would love for that to be my size. I would love for that to be 6 foot tall, 195 pounds or so. I think at that time I might have topped 200 at this point, but still, I thought I was fat. It's ridiculous. The absurd amount of, things that our society puts on us, and the thin culture is just ridiculous. And it's even worse for women. I'm not going to say that I had it better than women, but it's even, the standards for women are much more ridiculous. Like, there was back when I used to watch Howard Stern, there was an episode where they actually had, I didn't know this young woman, but I'd seen her around. She was a sorority girl and student at Tulane University. I think she was a Pi Phi, maybe. But one of the things that this sorority used to do is they would wrap their pledges in like cellophane or saran wrap or whatever, and then use marker to circle the problem areas. Like, it's gross. Like, it's absolutely gross. I mean, there are people in this society. I remember, again, maybe it's because I was raised right. I remember, like, what was an episode of watching Phil Donahue or something, and there was somebody, it was a woman on there. I think she was blonde, but I know she was very pretty, but she also happened to be obese, and she didn't feel good about herself. And I'm sitting there like, as like a young kid, like, I don't even think I'd hit puberty yet. And one of my thoughts was, why does she think she's not pretty? She's very pretty. But again, because society has terrible standards as to what they consider attractive and what they consider not to be attractive. And if in a society, if you're obese, you're viewed as a less of a person. Impeccable Living. Oh my gay God, what a handsome young man. Thank you. I mean, you think I'm handsome now, and I am overweight, so I appreciate that too. But yeah, I definitely. I definitely wish I was that size. Now, granted, I'd probably still grow the goatee because I have when I don't have the goatee or beard, I have a very baby face or whatever. Let's see, kimchi. I still have some fat shaming, self-hatred, but now I don't give a f what you think. Exactly, and I'm that way too. My issues dealing with my obesity at this point are all my personal issues, not issues that I care about when it comes to other people. Now, of course, my wife, when we started dating, she said, I like big men, and I was a big guy then. I'm a big guy now. I know she's attracted to me. I'm not worried that she's going to leave me for anybody else. It's not a concern of mine. We're very much happy, very much, in love, and, we're not jealous people either. We're lots of things we could discuss in that area. But yeah, actually, absolutely. I was not fat back then, but I felt like I was fat, and society made me feel as if I was fat. I was judged for however many pounds overweight I was. And now I'm like, I wish I was that size now. So, let's see. When you actually love someone, the physical changes are irrelevant. Well, that's true. And there are a lot of people who don't, really love. Like the people, those incel MGTOW types, the red pill types or whatever. Those type of people don't actually love the people that they're with. They just view their I don't even want to call them partners. They view their like, the people with whom they are in unequal relationships with, they view them as commodities to own. Like they don't, you know, so if they were to, you know, gain weight, they would be like, I'm dumping you for the next one. Why? Because they don't actually love the people that they're with. I don't even think that they're capable of love. Don't think that at all. I'm looking at my search results, and all I put was thought I was fat in the search bar. The first post was that picture. The second post was me resharing that picture. The third post was me resharing that picture. The fifth post, me resharing that picture. Now, this is a picture, I think, from junior prom. I'm not going to share that one because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube, because even though everybody's, you know, fully dressed and everything, they have a problem with showing, you know, children in videos. So even though everybody in this picture is adult at this point. But again, it's another example of me thinking that I'm fat when I'm not. Another one, you know, graduation. Again, I think I'm fat, and I wasn't. But, and it's in somebody else's post. I wish I was the size I was the first time I thought I was fat. Random, I'm tipsy. Yeah, that's the case with everybody. A lot of people believe that they would much rather be the size that they were when they originally thought they were fat than they are now. Let's see. It's all about health, not societal approval. Exactly. So Josh, you're tiny on my phone screen. Well, I'm tiny on your phone screen now too. So anyway, impeccable living. I enjoy all body types. Wait, hold on. There you go. Wait. Don O'Leary, Dan, you handsome. Back then, now, or both? Just fishing for compliments. Kimchi, I thought I was fat at 135. I was smoking hot. I mean, I haven't seen what you look like fully now. I mean, I only see your tiny little picture there, but I'm sure you're smoking hot now, too. You are the goddess Kimchi, after all, right? The Rook one, what year was that? That was 1994. So... let's see. Kimchi. Jews have always been ahead of their time. Maybe catch up. White demons. Exactly. Yes. You know, everybody could learn more from their Jewish brethren, their Jewish cousins, so to speak, right? See, Lisa Green, same weight as ever, but I'm blessed with the metabolism of a gnat. Let me ask you a question, and you don't have to answer this, but are you type B blood type? Because that I have a theory going on from some other people, and I want to see if I'm correct or not. Anyway, there was a couple other things I did want to talk about on the show before signing off. I mean, we're not constrained by the time of whatchamacallit. We're not constrained by you know, the blog talk radio time where we have to end the show hard end at 3 hours. So it's just a matter of the time amount is time spent, you know, not being, you know, tired. And I thought I would actually be tapping out much sooner than this, but see, A, B negative. But you have the B in there, and that's the thing. That's because I've heard, or I've seen, like, I knew people with type B blood types and that I used to work with, and both of them could eat piles of food and were skinny. So, and I think the B type are basically come from the people who are the hunter-gatherers or whatever, supposedly, and that's sometimes a lot of times people with B blood with no other health issues may be have higher metabolisms than anyone else. I don't know how AB falls in there though, so I could be worse. Let's see, you are A positive, like your GPA, because you're smart like me, because that was my GPA was a 4.0 as well, but at least in high school. And I'm also a positive blood type, and, well, so, what type does Nosferatu prefer? I hope I'm not that type. I don't know. I mean, my wife, I think, is O negative, which is like the best one to have if you're a donor, but the worst one to have if you're in the hospital. Let's see. I loved him, or loved who? A D plus average here. You know. We all have our skills. Not everybody can be book smart, right? Hey, you're probably still much smarter than all the MAGA types. A D plus would be too smart for Donald Trump to love. You'd have to have like a F minus in order for Donald Trump to love you. BB I don't like calling him BB. It's too cutesy. It's way too cutesy. So, wait. The Rook one, it's not the body type, but the person inside. I mean, lots of comment. What do you feel about that, Impeccable Living? Is it the body type or the person inside? Definitely the person inside, right? Sorry, even though the pictures of me was of an 18-year-old, and I'm in my 40s, almost to my 50s, but there's always going to be 13-year-old me that's going to make, silly little, dirty jokes whenever I possibly can. So, Yakety Smack. Roxanne. That was on the radio the other day, and I was driving my son crazy because I was doing that. You don't have to put on the red light. Those days are over. You don't have to sell your body to the night. Anyway, so, and he was like, you're too, but I was doing it loudly, and he was like, my ears. So, Roxanne, you don't have to wear that dress tonight. Anyway, walk the streets for money. You don't care if it's wrong or if it's right. Roxanne. Anyway, yes, Benjamin Netanyahu. Binyamin, which would be the Hebrew pronunciation of it. So is my daughter. She is much more intelligent than I, just not supported in her type of learning. I mean, that's unfortunate. There are different types of learning, and we need to understand that people learn different ways, different kinds, or whatever. And it doesn't make you less of a person unless you vote for Donald Trump. If you vote for voting for Donald Trump proves you're less of a person. That was a song. That's a yakety yak. Don't talk back. Benji, my first thought was a dog, so that fits pretty much. Anyway, two things I wanted to talk about. Apparently, a federal worker said he was fired despite taking Trump's buyout offer. Remember when I said that nobody taking the buyout offer should trust it? Should get all the money up front, because if you don't get the money up front, you're not going to get paid because he's going to find a reason to get around it anyway. Agriculture Department employee says he took the buyout before February 5th. He said he was then fired effective immediately with no explanation. 77,000 employees have accepted the offer from the Trump administration. The Trump administration looks to strengthen the federal workforce. A federal employee who accepted a deferred resignation offer told News Whatever that he was fired anyway. Nicholas Detter, a former employee with the Department of Agriculture, was among those who accepted the buyout. Detter said that he received an email saying he was fired effective immediately, and he received no explanation behind the termination, which the Office of Personnel Management said was accidental. Sure, it was accidental. It's, because they're not measuring twice and cutting once. They measured twice and cut once, they wouldn't have fired this guy after he took the deal, even though the deal is a terrible deal and you shouldn't have taken it. Let's see, all the way up to the head of my industry, he didn't have any prior notice. To this point, no one with my agency knows what to do with an employee like me. The federal buyout program was offered to government, blah, 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 blah. Number of workers who accepted was less than 4% of the federal workforce, 40% less than what he expected it to be. 60% less than what he expected or wanted it to be. Efforts to reduce the number of employees within the U.S. government are ramping up. OPM issued a directive requiring agencies to fire probationary employees, some of whom have been on the job a year or more. And of course, those probationary employees were people, including the people in charge of the nuclear stockpile. And now they're scrambling to get those back. Why? Because we didn't measure twice and cut once. So, cue the Price is Right sad trombone. Anyway, where's the other thing? Let's talk about this, shall we? Let's put myself back over here. No one puts Liberal Dan in the corner. Let's see. By the authority vested in me as president of the Constitution, I now pronounce you man and wife. No, I'm sorry. Purpose and policy. Today, many hopeful couples dream of starting a family, but as many as 1 in 7 are unable to conceive a child. Despite their hopes and efforts, infertility struggles can make conception difficult, turning what should be a joyful experience into an emotional and financial struggle. My administration recognizes the importance of family formation, and as a nation, our public policy must be easier for loving and longing mothers and fathers to have children. IVF offers the hope to men and women experiencing fertility challenges. Americans need reliable access to IVF and more affordable treatment. Cost per cycle can range from $12,000 to $25,000. Providing support, awareness, and access to affordable fertility treatments can help those families. Therefore, to support American families, it is the policy of my administration to ensure reliable access to IVF treatment, including by easing unnecessary statutory regulatory burdens to make IVF drastically more affordable. Section 2, lowering costs and reducing barriers to IVF. Within 90 days of the date of this order, the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy shall submit to the President a list of policy recommendations on protecting IVF access and aggressively reducing out-of-pocket and healthcare plan costs for IVF. Nothing in this order should impair the authority granted by law, blah, blah, blah. The functions of the Director of the OPMB. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law. This order is not intended to, does not create any right or benefit, blah, 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 blah. So basically, it's a whole bunch of nothing because it's just, he doesn't even have a concept of a plan at this point. He's basically asking his individual that he proposed, the Assistant to the President on Domestic Policy, he's asking this person to come up with a concept of a plan that he can try and work with, or to come up with several concepts of several plans so that they can pick one. But I don't have any faith that anything, like if he actually made it cheaper and more affordable for people, for all people who want to have IVF to actually get IVF done, and made it possible for people to get these treatments, you know, covered better under insurance, and to make sure that these people can, you know, have the families that they want, I would have no problem with that. I would actually raise that up as something that would be a good thing that would take place in this dystopian hellscape that is the Trump presidency. Because I'll give credit where credit is due. I just don't anticipate being able to give credit because I don't expect him to do anything with this. I don't expect any policy recommendation to come forward. They're going to be acceptable to him, or that are going to be acceptable to the religious right-wing conservative crazies who view IVF as no different morally than an abortion, because in most cases with IVF, you create a bunch of embryos, and then you only implant some of the embryos, which means you discard the rest of the embryos. And if you're discarding embryos, that's murder in their eyes. It's not really, and legally, or in any biologically or anything else, but to them, it's the same thing as killing a baby. So no, I don't expect the extremist religious folks in his MAGA base to support that. I expect them to speak out about that. I mean, they won't speak out about him being king. They won't speak out about him being a bigot. They won't speak out about him being a racist. They won't speak out about him cutting food access to children. They won't speak out about him cutting, funding for AIDS medicine in South Africa. But they'll speak up probably about him helping kill babies. Or some of them will just find an excuse as to why previously they supported, or they didn't support IVF, but now that Trump's supporting it, they're going to magically now support it. Because hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. So, yeah, I don't believe that this will come out of anything, that anything is going to come out of this. However, we shall see. Oh, let's see. The Star Trek original stars are all gone, but Shatner? Really? Are they all gone? I don't think they're all gone. There you go. Yeah. George Takei. Exactly. See, for real, the Consular Troy, can I get an Auga eyeball jumping out of your face? Auga! See, my grandfather had the toy mimic. The police has a toy mimic. The police ban. I will get you crazy toy copyright against them. What? I'm confused. Let's see. I bet Dan can sing the choir part from the original theme. Anyway, I'm not going to go that high. I don't want to cause anybody's dogs to go crazy, but yeah, pretty much. Damn it, Jim. I'm a doctor, not a psychiatrist. These are the voyages, yes. Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages, the Starship Enterprise. Spock. Archer, not Captain Archer, the cartoon show Archer. The Star Trek movies are okay. I do like Archer. I think I've missed the last few seasons of Archer, but Archer is a great show. I'm glad I can amuse all of y'all. But I never got around to. Well, let's talk about this last thing, and then we can talk about fun stuff. And maybe I'll redo my singing the news at that point. I did want to bring up that somebody brought up the leopards, or every time I see the word leopard, it doesn't matter if it's in the concept of people finding out, but anytime I see the word leopard or hear somebody say leopard, I always just get that woman's, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Oh, I never thought the leopards would eat my face. Anyway, yeah, leopards meet faces, exactly. I can't get that out of my head. It's got a funky beat, and I can bug out to it. Last news topic I did want to talk about today. I think it's the last news topic I wanted to talk about. I can scan through everything else. I talked about Utah flags, collective bargaining, buyout firings, border apprehensions, King Trump, IVF. There's the other. There's two that I need to talk about. Words of Redneck Wisdom, the Jeff Career thing. There is two things that I want to talk about. Let's see. First thing. U.S. Foreign Service officer deployed overseas blamed the President Trump administration for his cruel and harmful shutdown of U.S. aid for threatening the lives of his pregnant wife and unborn child. Identified in an affidavit only as Terry Doe, the Foreign Service officer explained in vivid detail how the emotional strain, financial burden, and logistical hurdles brought on by the administration's rushed, haphazard attempt to dismantle the aid agency left him and his wife in a life-threatening emergency. My wife is 31 weeks pregnant after years of infertility and $50,000 of personal investment in countless fertility treatments. Because of the stress and strain of constant onslaught by my employer in recent weeks, my wife has repeatedly been in the hospital with life-threatening conditions and stress-related complications. A local physician and the embassy's medical unit advised her to be medically evacuated out of the country. Doe continued. The State Department twice refused Doe's request, along with a message stating that there is no USA aid funding for medevacs. Only when an unidentified U.S. senator intervened on Doe's behalf was he able to secure approval for a medical evacuation, but by then, my wife began hemorrhaging and had to be admitted to the hospital at our overseas post, where she remains as of Monday. The stress on all USA aid families since January 20th contributed to her deteriorating medical condition. I'm now afraid for her and my baby's health because of this rush, haphazard, and cruel push to shut down the agency. This didn't have to happen. Of course, because why? Donald Trump and Doge did not measure twice before cutting. Chester disrupted Morocco's characterization of the evacuation of USAID employees from the Congo as a success instead of claiming that the agency completely failed to provide DRC evacuees with logistical and financial support, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that was a separate affidavit. Randall Chester, the vice president of a union that represents thousands of Forest Service officers, pushed back on several claims made by Peter Morocco, acting deputy director of USAID, blah, blah, blah. Chester also said the USAID's payment system called Phoenix remains inoperable, that some Foreign Service officers who were forced to evacuate the Congo reported in that they are carrying tens of thousands of debt due to the agency not paying vouchers for their travel, hotels, and meals during the evacuation. So again, they didn't measure twice before cutting, and many people are being harmed financially, physically, etc., because they never thought the leopards would eat their face. Ooh. Anyway. And David, Grand Prairie, Texas. I don't think this is anywhere near you, but it could be. I don't know. Are you near South Plains at all? Because in South Plains, the Texas Department of State Health Services is reporting an outbreak of measles in South Plains region of Texas. At the time, 58 cases have been identified with symptom onset within the last 3 weeks. 13 of the patients have been hospitalized. 4 of the cases are vaccinated. The rest are unvaccinated, or their vaccination status is unknown. Due to the highly contagious nature of the disease, additional cases are likely to occur in Gaines County and the surrounding communities. DSHS is working with South Plains Public Health District and the Lubbock Public Health to investigate the outbreak. 45 cases in Gaines, 1 in Lubbock, 1 in Lynn, 9 in Terry, 2 in Yoakum, for a grand total of 58. Measles cases, 0 to 4 years of age, 15 years old, 5 to 17 to 33 years old, 6 who are 18 plus, and 4 are pending. They don't know the ages of that yet. So, yes, the vaccine panic that people have caused has caused the increase. And what we heard in the words of Redneck Wisdom earlier, which I may actually close the show with so that the Twitch people can hear it again before we go on to the outro music, just to give some slow exiting of the show before doing that. That being said, the vaccine hesitancy amongst people is not just limited to the COVID vaccine, or limited to all the other ones, and we're going to get more sick, more dying, more deaths, more recurrences of diseases that we thought we dealt with simply because we have stupids who think that you can be affected and killed by 5G because you took a vaccine. Dumb-ass mother effers. So, and Lisa Green, I got the Sulu on clearance, so my Barbie had an Asian boyfriend. That's funny. Anyway, so I think we've covered all the topics that I wanted to cover news-wise at this point. Let's see. Favorite concert was brought up earlier. Somebody brought up a Rush show. I did enjoy pretty much all of the Rush shows that I went to. Although the first Rush show I went to, Mr. Big opened for them, and I wasn't a big fan of Mr. Big. Not a fan. I've had to choose between Mr. Big and Our Lady Peace. I'd probably go with Mr. Big still, but because Our Lady Peace is even worse. And if I had to choose, and even though I hate Bryan Adams because he was literally rude to me in a concert, I still would pick Bryan Adams probably over both of them because, they're both bad, and he's bad because I hate him, but his music is at least better. But anyway, the most emotional kind of meaningful concert that I went to, I went to Jazz Fest, and there's tons of concerts that took place at Jazz Fest. But Bruce Springsteen performed with the Pete Seeger band, and did a whole bunch of folk music. And I'm not huge on folk music, so to speak, but it was right after Katrina, right after people came back from Katrina, and it was a very moving concert. It was a very moving time, and a lot of people were just kind of tearing up there. So it was definitely one of the best concerts that I attended. I've been to multiple Rush concerts. I've lost count. I've been to multiple Goo Goo Dolls concerts because my wife loves Goo Goo Dolls, so we've been to those a lot. I've probably been to more Goo Goo Dolls concerts than Rush concerts. I've also, where else? What other concerts have I been to that have been really, really good? I mean, I've seen Train and Goo Goo Dolls in concert. I've seen Train and OAR in concert. I think I've seen Train by themselves. I don't think I've seen Goo Goo Dolls and OAR in concert, but I might be wrong about that. Maybe I did. No, maybe I did. I think that might have been in Atlanta where we saw Goo Goo Dolls and OAR. We just haven't seen Train, OAR, and Goo Goo Dolls all in one setting. Billy Joel at Jazz Fest was really good, even though it was pouring down rain. ZZ Top at Jazz Fest was amazing. I don't know if I would call that my best, though. I know probably the worst concert I went to was the Primus concert. Because I went to the Primus concert. The first half of the concert was them doing their own songs, but they didn't even do Winona's Big Brown Beaver or Jerry Was a Race Car Driver. The only song that I knew of their opening set was My Name Is Mud. They had an opening band before Primus came on that sounded worse than Ross's sound, if you know what Ross's sound is from Friends. It was terrible. We should have showed up to the show much later than the starting time. Now, they did perform Rush's Farewell to Kings album very well, because that was the point. They announced this concert after Neil Peart died, and they basically were going to do Farewell to Kings. I would have probably rather another album, but still, they did Closer to the Heart. They did Farewell to Kings. There was several of the songs that they did that they just did a really good job with, so that was fine. But the first part of the concert was miserable and terrible. Let's see. Well, let's see. My ex used to work for security for a concert promotion company. I used to get tickets into them for free. That's awesome. Kimchi Train is my favorite band. Yeah, Train did a cover of Under Pressure, and that was amazing. Jeff Curry. Favorite concert, Hang Your Hate. No one could pick that one for me. I am shocked I say that you would pick Hang Your Hate. See, I kind of liken Rush to Linkin Park. I don't know. I don't know if they're as similar or whatever as I would. Let's see. Rush was great. Both my husbands are freaking obsessed, and now I get it. Yeah, I mean, we went to Florida, and we were already going to Disney World to meet my parents, I think, to meet my dad and my stepmom and other family, and my stepsisters. We went a day early because at the time, the Rush tour had not been announced for New Orleans, and so I got tickets in Tampa. So we went to Tampa, saw Rush, and then we drove over to Orlando to go meet the family. And then we come back, and then they announced that the tour was coming to New Orleans on the second leg of the tour, so I did that. See, I've seen Counting Crows a couple of times. The first time I think I saw Counting Crows here in New Orleans, they didn't do Mr. Jones. And I was like, what the hell? How do you perform and not do Mr. Jones? Like, I understand that you can't do all your music that everyone might love, but how do you not do Mr. Jones? Come on. Every other time I've seen Counting Crows, they did do Mr. Jones. They did it the last time they were here. They did Mr. Jones when we saw, in Dallas, we saw Goo Goo Dolls and Counting Crows together. Shocked that we saw Goo Goo Dolls with some other band. Like, I've seen Goo Goo Dolls in Houston. I've seen Goo Goo Dolls in Dallas. I've seen them in Mississippi. I've seen them in Atlanta. I've seen them in Mississippi. I've never seen them here because New Orleans has a really weird tax structure when it comes to the fees that they charge bands. Like, if you're a tiny band and like smaller than like, you know, Goo Goo Dolls and stuff, you know, you can afford to go to your small venue. If you're a huge talent like Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Billy Joel, Rolling Stones, that was a great concert, actually. The Rolling Stones concert that we went to, that was an amazing concert. That was really well done. You know, those can afford here. But the mid-size acts, like, I mean, they did come once, but I think the one time I saw Train here, it was like it might have been a free concert that was paid for by some committee or something like that. But for the most part, it's very difficult and unaffordable for bands of that size, of that sort of like Train, OAR, Goo Goo Dolls type size. It's very difficult. I've seen a lot of like older bands like at Disney at their Food and Wine Festival. They have the Eat to the Beat thing, and other similar type things. Like I saw Richard Marx there. I saw Dennis DeYoung, lead singer of Styx, there doing all the Styx songs, but he wasn't there as Styx. He was just there as Dennis DeYoung. I saw what's the frickin' name? Sugar Ray. I saw Sugar Ray there. There was a story that we were going to go see Goo Goo Dolls in Mississippi, and while we were at the Goo Goo Dolls concert in Mississippi, I saw that Everclear was going to show up, and I was like, ooh, I would really like to go see Everclear in concert. And I forgot about it, and then all of a sudden a friend of mine posts on Facebook, I'm here at the Everclear concert. I'm like, God damn it, I wanted to go to that thing. But then I was like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I'm sure at some point in time, Everclear will go to Eat to the Beat at Disney World, and I'll be able to watch them at Disney World. And as it turned out, later on that year, they went to Disney World to go perform at Eat to the Beat. And it was on the exact same day that we were already going to be in Epcot, so I didn't have to change my plans at all. So, let's see, what else? I think I'd have to say that probably the most fun concerts that I've been to was Weird Al, because I've been to several Weird Al concerts. Actually, last year, when they were announced, I actually bought tickets for Weird Al for the end of July, you know, here in New Orleans, because he actually is coming to New Orleans, but I guess he's bigger than, I guess, some of those other bands. But I saw Weird Al when he had a full-on orchestra behind him, like, you know, strings and other, you know, conductors and all that stuff, and that was really neat. And then we saw him up in Mississippi, which was good. We also saw him in Florida, because we were planning on going to Florida that week, and he was performing his, like, all of his unique songs, all of the songs that were like his. So I finally got to hear watch One More Minute, which is one of my favorite songs to perform by Weird Al in karaoke. What I didn't tell Cassie when I brought her to the concert was that the opening act for Weird Al was Emo Phillips, and his stand-up act was hilarious. And it was in Melbourne, Florida, which is a very conservative part of Florida, and he's sitting there mocking anti-vaxxers, and I'm just having a great time watching him make fun of all the rubes that live in Melbourne and other areas. He was so good. It was side-splitting laughter. It was hilarious. But yes, Weird Al Yankovic, the Rook one. Yeah, Dan likes Disney. Shocked, I say. I did see Kiss once. Kiss did a concert for something down here, and it was a free concert. So I did get to see Kiss in concert for free. I think it was an NCAA thing. I could be wrong, but it was something that they were down here. Never got to see Aerosmith, unfortunately. I won tickets, 10th row tickets to go see Metallica for their Reload tour off the radio. I was the 10th caller. Call now, be the 10th caller, and win tickets to whatever. And I couldn't get anybody to drive me because it was in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is 2 hours away, and I didn't have a car at the time. I was so pissed off that I had tickets that I could not use, and I couldn't even sell them because the internet wasn't big back then. But yeah, like Weird Al, like the 1 More Minute song is amazing. It's just one of his. If you haven't heard it, it's like it starts off just like as like a kind of a doo-wop song, and he's singing and it sounds very sad as like, well, I heard that you're leaving. Gonna leave me far behind, so far behind you, 'cause you found a brand new lover and decided that I'm not your kind. So I pulled your name out of my Rolodex, and I tore all your pictures in two, and I burned down the malt shop where we used to go, just because it reminds me of you. That's right, you ain't gonna see me crying. I'm glad you found somebody new, 'cause I'd rather have 100,000 paper cuts on my face than spend 1 more minute with you. I think I might have messed up that one though, because there's 2 that I kind of mix up. Anyway, so as soon as I start singing, Jeff Curry goes, "Be right back." Is that personal? Let's see. Is he still alive? Yes, he is still alive, and he's performing. He's performing this July here in New Orleans at the Sanger Theater. Although, I guess I'm trying to go through all the concerts, and I'm remembering them as I go. Probably one of the best concerts I've been to, if not the best concert I've ever been to. Paul McCartney. Paul McCartney came here. I got tickets. It was my birthday week. I was a little upset that he didn't sing the birthday song. But, it is what it... Oh, wait, that's Trump's lyric. Trump's saying, "Thank you, Donald." Even though I'm mad at Paul McCartney because Paul McCartney was asked by Weird Al if he could do, instead of Live and Let Die, he wanted to do Chicken Pot Pie. But Paul McCartney is a vegan. I think he's at least a vegetarian, if not a vegan, but I think he's a vegan. And Paul McCartney was like, "I don't want to encourage people to eat chicken, so why not do tofu pot pie?" And it was like, no, I'm not going to do a song about tofu pot pie. Nobody knows tofu. Nobody eats tofu pot pie except for, I guess, crazy vegans. So I'm not going to make my tofu pot pie song. I'll just have to go without performing chicken pot pie. But Paul McCartney was definitely, if not the best concert I've been to, probably top 5. And that's being very liberal with the numbers, I guess. Where trying to find the other 4 that would go along with it would probably be very tough. But it's definitely top 5, if not number 1. And he actually also performed Something, which is George's song. And Something is another song that I do. That is one of my regular mainstays that I do in karaoke. Oh, that's right. Can't hear the soundboard because the phone's on. Thank you, Aaron. I'll just do not disturb that, whatever, and then go.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So, yeah, Weird Al, Amish Paradise. I cannot hear Gangsta's Paradise on the radio anymore without doing Amish Paradise along with it. Of course, I probably can't do it as well as some other ones. Like, I've done White and Nerdy in karaoke and surprised some of my friends or whatever who are like, "Oh, wow, you actually did it." My son is bad for losing mic during shows. Like dropping it or just throwing it in the crowd. Let's see. Let's see. What else? What else did people also talk about here? Hanger Hat's been going all over, but the shows here, I'm a VIP. And look, Jeff, if Hanger Hate ever comes to New Orleans, let me know, and I'll be more than happy to go check them out. So, let's see. Trying to think of any other concerts that I've been to that would have been, really, really good. I mean, there's tons of ones. Like I saw George Thorogood at Jazz. There's a tons of ones I saw Jazz. I saw George Thorogood at Jazz Fest. That was pretty amazing. What else? Saw Rod Stewart at Jazz Fest, which was just a very surreal moment because it was so packed for Rod Stewart. It was so completely packed that when we got there, they have different stages in Jazz Fest. And so if you're close to one stage, you're going to hear the music of that stage. But I was so far away from the Acura stage, I was equidistant to the Congo stage. So in one ear, I'm hearing Rod Stewart going like, "Tonight's the night. You're gonna be alright. 'Cause I love you, baby. Ain't nobody gonna stop us now." Not a great ending there. But in my left ear, I'm hearing Ludacris going, "Move, bitch. Get out the way." I'm like, this is freaking hysterical. It's so surreal. So... Let's see. Paul McCartney is the best. Father and daughter brings me to tears every time. Oh. Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, Rod Stewart's a good performer. I know I enjoyed the concert. It was just very surreal. Good night, Roxanne. Thank you for joining. But yeah, that would make a good mashup. Yeah. Tonight's the night to move, bitch. That would be the one, right? But yeah, let me try and redo this right now. I'll do it as do it lower and record it lower, and we'll see if this comes out better than the other one. For those of you who weren't around when I did my news singing the news bit that I promised I promised somebody I would do. So here we go. Well, I guess that's why I'm singing the news. Donald Trump's lies giving all us the blues. Blaming Zelensky for Putin's actions. MAGA's the dumbest political faction. So I guess that's why I'm singing the news. Anyway, so there's that. There's that, and so I can record that now and upload that with no problem. Anyway, and what was the other thing? I was probably gonna just end first with words of redneck wisdom again, the 4-minute words of redneck wisdom this time, and then we'll move on to the Nimbus thing. But you won't hear the Nimbus thing on Twitch or whatever. So, see, Impeccable Living. When do you go live next? I need to set reminders. It's always Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central, unless I post otherwise. If something big happens, I can't say that I won't go live tomorrow or Friday, because it's possible that something big might happen, that Donald Trump does or whatever, that I need to do a show about, that I can't just do with like a short, like either one to TikTok that uploads to Facebook or whatever. So it's very well possible that, with this hellscape that is the Donald Trump administration, that I could, but it's always Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Central. So, but anyway, let's see. Surrender Monkey, I envy anyone who has seen Stevie Wonder live. Do I make the joke? I don't know. Elon John. I don't want to see Elon John. I would love to have been able to see Elton John, but I definitely don't want to see Elon John. So there, Big Hook made the joke for me. There you go. Have you seen Stevie Wonder's house? Neither is he. There you go. See, me and Big Hook already made the joke, Lisa. So there you go. I can't. He already stole my thunder. So there you go. Anywho, but anyway, let's go ahead and play again. Words of Redneck Wisdom, and that'll be the sign off for the Twitch folks, and then we will then also move on to the Nimbus for the other part of the song. I'll continue chatting in chat. Then I'll probably work on uploading some stuff. But well, we went a whole 3-hour show today, so that's pretty awesome. So anyway, thank y'all very much for joining. Appreciate y'all as always, and until next time I see you, have a good one. Peace.
And now, words of redneck wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio.
When I was 5 years old, I read the encyclopedia from A to Z, and I've always had an interest in knowledge. And my friends call me a walking encyclopedia because there's any topic I'm not familiar with. Now, in regards to the doctor, what he was saying about the vaccines and the NRA vaccines that they're using and what they were really meant for, I have a master's in nuclear physics. And one of the things I look at is what it would actually do on a nuclear level. And I want the doctor to be on so he can validate this. Because what the vaccines are only not doing, they're attacking the DNA of people, but also they're also setting your biorhythmic rhythms on your body, so that when you decide to use the 5G, it will excite the molecules in your body in the nuclear level and basically kill selected people. They could do that because when they did the vaccines, they had them numbered. They know who took what and where they're at, and they wanted to target certain people.
But wait, there's more.
I got diabetes, and every time I go to the doctor, I got a lot of things wrong with me, but every time I go to the doctor, they want to give me a COVID shot or a flu shot or something like that. I'm from the old school. I haven't been vaccinated for anything ever. I didn't have school shots or nothing. I mean, I've never been vaccinated for anything. My dad wouldn't let me wouldn't let him give it to me because I had a cousin that started the first grade and he got the shot, the vaccines for polio and measles and everything, and he died that night. He got a fever and died that night. Cooked his brain. His fever got hot. I've had all the childhood diseases. I mean, natural immunity. That's the key, see. This nanotechnology that's called magnetoinfection, what they're doing with these magnetic pulses and these nanoparticles, I call them nanobots. Okay, what I was getting to at the hospital, they begged me to use Ozempic, okay? And I told my doctor, I've had many talks with her about this magnetoinfection. I said, if it's got, it saved me from taking insulin shots every day, once a week, And I thought, that sounds like magnetoinfection. So, okay, she told me it was. So I checked up on it before I gave her the okay, and that's exactly what it was. It's hydrogels, and it's in practically everything at the hospital, at the pharmacy that's liquid, okay? The only way they can use this stuff without injecting it in your body is through liquid, because it changes once it dries and turns into the magnetoinfection, the stuff that alters your genetics, okay? And they're not only using that magnetoinfection, those lipid nanobots for everything. Those nanobots for everything. They're spraying them, bombarding our atmosphere with them on a daily basis, creating atmospheric rivers, bombs, cyclones, polar vortexes. That's how they're controlling the weather now, so they blame it on their arch enemy, climate change, right? It's all got to do with nanotechnology. They have it. Look at CRISPR. Just look at a little bit of what CRISPR has done, and you'll see that they're wanting to rearrange man's molecule. That's what this transhumanism stuff's all about. Whoever's left after they wipe us, the ones they want out, they want them to be good little worker bees. They want them to be happy in a realm that don't exist, like these kids with these glasses on swinging these little things around, playing with them. all the time, conditioning them for a
VR.
false reality.
Right.
It's all connected, Jeff.
Okay.
And everybody says I'm a nut, but I ain't. But
And this concludes Words of Redneck Wisdom, brought to you by Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.